agricultural equipment need to be checked very well. And that's why I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, that today we are in a level that we need to understand that it's a high time we call a cat, and we don't call a dog a cat. If this bill is punitive, let it be taken back to the public who demonstrated yesterday, who are still asking for answers and questions. Well, why are you saying you have deleted some and you are not giving them an opportunity to see? Mr. Speaker, like I said before, can we ask ourselves outside, because we are living in this country? If you go to Mama Mboga, if you go to everyone is complaining. Everyone is complaining that we have pushed the Kenyan people to the corner. And that was say we are just begging from our colleagues, if possible, let us not approve this finance bill 2024. And for the sake of the people of Kajiado South constituency, whom I represent, if you put in hashtag, they might also be called villagers. And I'm also a boy from the village. If at all we are going by the voices of the Kenyans, I stand to say, because of the people of Kajiado South constituency, I don't support this bill. And for the sake of the Gen Z, I also don't support that bill. And also, Mr. Speaker, I donate my 1 minute to Mr. Wanjala. Thank you.
Order. Under what standing order are you donating? Kimani Ichung'wah. Kimani Ichung'wah.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this bill and the committee's report together with all its amendments, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity first to thank the Committee on Finance for the great work they did, especially in listening to the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, as I said yesterday, this committee did indeed listen to the people of Kenya. And if you go through the compendium of amendments that the committee has proposed, you will realize that they listened to Kenyans from the cost of bread, or rather the VAT that was proposed on bread, to the border sector, to the eco-levies on diapers, on sanitary towels, and all the other things, Honorable Speaker, that Kenyans said might be harmful to them or would be detrimental to their well-being in terms of the cost of living, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me also take this opportunity to point out to Kenyans, because I know all these members have been bombarded with messages from Kenyans asking them to reject this finance bill. Honorable Speaker, I saw yesterday when it became clear and apparent that there were measures that have been taken having listened to Kenyans. A number of them started saying, please do not edit, reject. Let me tell them, we never edit bills. What we do is to propose amendments, adopt those amendments, and the consequential bill that will be passed in the committee of the whole is what then becomes the act of parliament that we have the force of law as the new operative law of the Finance Act of 2024-2025. Therefore, let me just plead with Kenyans to be patient with us, to allow us to do what they charge us to do as their elected representatives. Honorable Speaker, I say that because I know, and I know many of these members, including myself, we have suffered a lot of harassment. And I was asking the leader of minority this morning whether he has suffered the same. And he told me his phone is worse. Many of these members of parliament today, Honorable Speaker, you cannot reach them on their phones because they have blocked their phones, including WhatsApp. But this is the beauty of our democracy, Honorable Speaker. And the beauty of this democracy, Honorable Speaker, is that Kenyans express themselves and we respond to what they are saying. And in responding to what they have told us, that is why many of the amendments that you find in the committee's report that touch on the issues to do with bread, border, sanitary towels, Honorable Speaker, and I heard this morning somebody asking whether we have capacity to manufacture adequate sanitary towels and diapers in this country, Honorable Speaker. And I want to confirm to the country that we have more than adequate capacity. Honorable Speaker, if you get data from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Honorable Speaker, we are outstripping the daily demand, for instance, for sanitary towels. And I mentioned sanitary towels because, Honorable Speaker, I am a father to girls. 2 of them who are now turning to their teenage years. One is 17, the other one is 14. And I have seen these members, someone was showing me a very derogatory message sent to him, being asked whether his wife doesn't do what, I don't know what, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I am saying this because if you look at the data from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, it is clear that out of 4 established companies who are manufacturing sanitary pads, for instance, that is Interconsumer Products Limited, Promed Limited, African Cloth Limited, Sai Pharmaceutical Limited, and a 5th one coming up, Sunda Kenya Limited. The 4 companies' production output is 148 million pieces a month. Our local demand is 135 million pieces a month. Honorable Speaker, when the eco levy was introduced on sanitary pads and diapers, Kenyans spoke to the Finance Committee and said they would become expensive. And Honorable Speaker, the Finance Committee has responded by imposing both VAT and that eco levy on finished imported products, including imported sanitary pads and diapers that are coming from countries, and I do not want to mention the countries, Honorable Speaker, whose safety, how hygienic they are, whether they meet the required health standards, we cannot ascertain, Honorable Speaker. And it is important for us as parents to be responsible citizens and parents to protect our teenage girls, our mothers, our sisters, our wives, by ensuring that the sanitary pads that they use are safe, they are secure, they are hygienic. Honorable Speaker, it is only fair also to protect our growing manufacturing industry. I watched, Honorable Speaker, when the Kenya Association of Manufacturers presented their memoranda to the Committee on Finance. And they truly pleaded with the Committee on Finance to protect our local manufacturing industry, Honorable Speaker. When then we are told, Honorable Speaker, that imposing excise duty, imposing an eco levy, imposing VAT on imported finished products in order to protect our manufacturing industry, in order to ensure that we have jobs being created, Honorable Speaker, for the thousands of youth who today, Honorable Speaker, are being misled that the only thing that these honorable members can do is to reject this finance bill instead of fixing it, fixing what is wrong in the finance bill. Honorable Speaker, this bill had 65 clauses at inception when it came to this House. I have listened to Kenyans, Honorable Speaker,
yes,
and engaged a number of them.
Order, Honorable Majority Leader. Under what standing order?
83.
Pardon?
And Speaker, according to the oxygen principle,
Under what standing order?
according to the oxygen principle, Speaker, procedural technicalities does not override substantive justice.
Order. You are here in the morning. I said, you understand a point of order. I'll allow you. Tell me which standing order is being infringed. Then I allow you. You said 83. You're out of order.
Mr. Speaker.
Go on, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was asking.
Order, Babu Wino. You should know what you want to say, my son. Because you stood up and said, standing order 83. It doesn't apply. Then somebody whispers to you 91, you say 91. Go on, Majority Leader. Take your seat.
Honorable Speaker, I was asking, what is so wrong with us protecting our manufacturing sector in this country, Honorable Speaker? What is so wrong with us ensuring that we are creating jobs within our own economy instead of creating jobs in other countries, Honorable Speaker. Because when we say that we do not levy excise duty on imported finished products, whether they are finished and fully assembled border borders or motorcycles, Honorable Speaker, we are creating and exporting jobs out of this country into those economies where we want to import those finished products from. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I want to speak to the young people in the streets. The young people, Honorable Speaker, who have been mobilized in colleges and universities around our country to send members messages of rejecting this finance bill. This finance bill is about protecting yourselves as our children. It is about creating jobs for you as our children. It is about ensuring that the future of our economy is secure, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we will only secure the economy for future generations if we make sure that we nurture the growing manufacturing sector in our economy, Honorable Speaker, vis-a-vis in exporting jobs to other countries, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the finance, every year that we pass a finance act in this house, it has a 3 or 2-fold objective, Honorable Speaker. Top among them, other than revenue, is also to ensure, Honorable Speaker, that we create jobs within our economy for us to be able to expand our tax base. So that, Honorable Speaker, those of us who feel overburdened, especially the working class in this country, because we are paying taxes and very many other non-taxpayers or Kenyans who are not paying taxes are depending on us to ensure that we're able to create jobs, create more income earners who can pay taxes so that we share the burden of taxation more evenly and more fairly, Honorable Speaker. And that is part of the prime objective of this Finance Act of 2024, to ensure that we raise revenue, we protect our manufacturing sector, Honorable Speaker, we create jobs, and more importantly, Honorable Speaker, we deliver services to the people of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. I am glad, as the President said yesterday, Honorable Speaker, that the conversation in this country now has changed. We are no longer debating in this house, Honorable Speaker, these interjections, I find them unnecessary. I think Babu thinks we are outside Central Police Station.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we cannot sit here.
What standing order are you on?
91.
91.
Honorable Speaker, why is it that it's only my standing orders that you are confirming, Honorable Speaker? The rest you are giving.
Baba, everybody has been subjected to the same treatment.
What I want to say is very important and urgent, Honorable Speaker.
Yes. Yes, what is out of order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I've heard the submissions made by Honorable Ichung'wah, and I want to say that at first I thought that they were important and detailed, but I've just realized that the important parts are not detailed and the detailed parts are not important. He's talking about manufacturing. Honorable Speaker, I want to educate Honorable
What
Ichung'wah.
is out of order?
This is where I'm coming to.
Pursuing a counter argument.
This is where I'm coming to, Honorable Speaker, on matters economics, because Honorable Ichung'wah is claiming that if we increase taxes for imports, that is what he's saying, that if we increase taxes for imports, imported goods, then we will give an opportunity for industries, local industries to grow, which literally is normally true. But in our situation as a country, Honorable Speaker, we are going to promote what we call foreign absorption, where money is going to leak from...
Order, Honorable Babu. Order, take your seat. Order, Honorable Babu. When you take your seat. You are pursuing a very healthy argument, but it's very far from a point of order. When you are given an opportunity, pursue that argument and convince your colleagues. When you stand on a point of order, ordinarily you start this way. Mr. Speaker, is it in order for the member on the floor to say this and this and this, when in fact the fact are this and this, or contrary to this standing order? You've shot up, on my permission, and you are pursuing a very healthy argument on the bill that has no relationship with what the member on the floor was saying, because that is your argument, that's his argument.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for that guidance and protection. Honorable Speaker, I was saying many of the amendments that have been proposed by the Finance Committee in a big way cure the numerous concerns that Kenyans had over this finance bill. And therefore, that's why I want to plead with this Honorable House, let us do what is right. I know there are those who are tempted to do that which is popular. It is very popular to join street demonstrations, to be seen as a hero rescuing people from police stations when they are arrested out of whatever they are arrested on in the streets. But as a leader, and we are here as leaders, Honorable Speaker, as a leader and as leaders, Honorable Speaker, we must do that what is right. And Honorable Speaker, when this administration came to power about 2 years ago, our fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP was at 6.7%. We were projected to borrow 1.1 trillion shillings, Honorable Speaker, in the first year of this administration. That today, Honorable Speaker, with the budget that this House adopted 2 or 3 weeks ago, has gone down from 6.7 to 3.4%. That is on account of sound economic policies. It is on account of doing what is right rather than what is popular. Honorable Speaker, I know many of these members have been intimidated around the country, being told, utatupata 2027, or you get us in 2027. I want to give you the highest assurance. What the people of Kenya will judge you against is whether or not you are able to deliver on the promises and the pledges you made to them on delivery of services. It shall not be possible to deliver services, to build roads, to build schools without generating revenue for the country, Honorable Speaker. We cannot be a country that lives on debt, Honorable Speaker. And I'll beg for additional time because of the interjections, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, 2 years ago, we are not just surviving on borrowed money. Honorable Speaker, we were on the verge of defaulting on our international and national domestic debt obligations, Honorable Speaker. From last year, end of last year, Honorable Speaker, it became clear, not just to us within the country, but to the world at large, that Kenya was never and was not about to default on its debt obligations, Honorable Speaker. That is why, Honorable Speaker, today, unlike 2 years ago when the price of funga was at a high of 260 shillings, today the price of unga is at a low of 100 shillings, courtesy of the right economic policies and not what is populist.
Give him 2 minutes to wind up.
I have 15.
Pardon?
I have 15, they had timed 10, and the interjections.
I'll give him an additional 3 minutes. Yes, Wamshomba, hold the time. Wamshomba, what's your point of order? And under what standing order?
Mr. Speaker.
Give her the mic. There's one next to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise under standing order number 90. As a member who has pecuniary interests on matters sanitary towels, as a user, because I'm a user, do I qualify?
Can you repeat that you are?
I am standing on the strength of standing order number 90.
Yes.
As a member who wishes to speak on this matter of sanitary towels as a user.
That's yourself.
Yes.
You are out of order. Take your seat. If you had in the morning the Honorable Tenda Molo, although he did the right thing wrongly, when you challenge somebody take your seat, under Standing Order 91, you're challenging the member on the floor. who has pecuniary interests, not on the basis of your own pecuniary interest. Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was saying 2 years ago, unga, when we speak about the cost of living, unga was at a high of 260 shillings. Today, unga is at a low of about 100 shillings, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, our exchange rate, the Kenya shilling to the dollar, almost a year ago, it was at a high of 162 shillings. Today, it is at a low of 128 and still going down, Honorable Speaker. Courtesy of the right economic policies, courtesy of pursuing what is right rather than what is popular, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the past, we have suffered what was described as state capture, Honorable Speaker. This bill, Honorable Speaker, in a big way addresses the question of state capture. Honorable Speaker, there are companies in this country that have survived largely on what is called tax expenditure and manipulating the system around tax expenditure, Honorable Speaker, especially around the question of VAT refunds. This bill, Honorable Speaker, is addressing the loopholes that bedevil our country through people who are well connected, who use the system to beat the tax system, Honorable Speaker, exploiting tax refunds to make bigger profits for their companies, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, speaking to state capture, Honorable Speaker, we built an SGR infrastructure over 10 years ago.
You have 1 minute.
You would be shocked today, Honorable Speaker, there are people who are still claiming tax deductions around buildings that were done with the SGR. This bill is bringing to an end from the 1st of July those deductions courtesy of the SGR, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I know there are people who have mobilized because they have been benefiting from the system, Honorable Speaker, hiding behind civil society, funding civil society, Honorable Speaker, and the civil society, Honorable Speaker, mobilizing negative propaganda against this bill. I want to implore our members, do what is right, do what is good for the economy, do what is good for your generation, future generations, Honorable Speaker, what will secure our nation's economy, not that.
Your time is up. Nabii Nabwera. Nabii Nabwera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to raise a number of issues.
Yes, Millie Odhiambo, what is the problem? The women are also here. I can see them.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, order, Nabii. Yes, Gichungwa, what is the point of order?
Honorable Speaker, because Honorable Millie was not on record, you may not have heard what she said, but she said she wants to speak as a former user. Honorable Speaker, of sanitary items. What I did not understand whether it was sanitary towels or diapers. Maybe she can clarify whether it was sanitary towels or diapers.
Nabii, order. Yes. Yes, Honorable Junet, what is out of order? Hold Nabii's time.
Mr. Speaker, you have heard clearly what the majority leader has said. He is asking under what category of women do Millie Odhiambo fall? Because she's claiming that she's a former user of sanitary pads. And in the finance bill, we are discussing sanitary pads, and we went to reduce the taxes. Is she going to benefit from that? Is she opposing or supporting, Mr. Speaker?
Order, Millie. You don't need rocket science to understand what you said. I understood you clearly, and we don't want to engage in debate. Nabii Nabwera, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today I've had a lot of time to reflect on whether this country, we want to move it forward, we want to have it stagnant, or we want even to become repugnant. I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because any progressive country, any progressive system, we should have started by looking our 2023-2024 Act, Finance Act, and asked ourselves the question, has it served us well? Number two, we should have asked us, we intended to collect a certain amount of money. Did it help us collect that money? Number three, what has been the business performance for the period that 2023-2024 covered? And finally, Mr. Speaker, we should ask ourselves, has the current Finance Act helped us to mobilize savings? What is our saving ratio as a country? Mr. Speaker, as I look at that and evaluate the 2023-2024 Finance Act, I return a performance ratio of 44%. With that kind of performance ratio, you cannot come up with another act, a bill to repeal that act, which increases the number of taxes, the amount of taxes to the public. Because you have failed to collect over 300 billion. Mr. Speaker, whereas the chairman of the Finance Committee presented to us a report here, which looked progressive, unfortunately, it fell short of curing the problems in this bill. What are the problems in this bill? Mr. Speaker, if you look at Schedule 4 and Schedule 3, then you return a no acceptance to this bill. One, if you look at the 10% duty on Kilinga, you are only improving the status of one business person. When you look at the duty on billet, you are improving the status of the same person. You cannot create a law that only ensures that one particular individual or one particular entity of business thrives at the expense of the others. Mr. Speaker, whereas one would want to forgive the drafters of this bill for imagining that if you removed tax or if you remove the sanitary towels that are locally manufactured, then you have cured the problem, is lying. I've talked to my own daughters in the house. They tell me the sanitary towels they use are all imported. So in other words, when you see the young girls going to the streets and asking us whether wasinyeshe, they mean it. Because you are making their life unbearable. Mr. Speaker, I want to pick on an issue here. And this issue is based on Schedule 4. If you look at all the taxes under Schedule 4, on telephone, on all those things there, they are meant to help improve businesses. Now, if we are levying taxes on them, and already the business community is underperforming, how do we intend to raise money? If this country cannot mobilize savings, then we rather shut up and close it. I'm asking the drafters of this bill, and Chairman, with due respect, if you wanted to help us as a country with all those changes you made, they were fundamental, then the bill loses its original form. Then you should have withdrawn the bill and given us another bill. Mr. Speaker, I oppose.
Dorothy Ikiara. Dorothy Kiara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the outset, I say I support this bill. And Mr. Speaker, I was seated here in the House and I participated actively in passing the budget and appropriation bill when it was presented before this House. Honorable Speaker, we did come up with a lot of issues because, Honorable Speaker, we promised Kenyans on very many pledges when we were being elected. And inside this House today, Honorable Speaker, each and every member did give pledges. And we know what that means, Honorable Speaker. We promised the electorates good roads. We promised them medicine in the hospital. We promised them proper education for their children. And Honorable Speaker, this informs us of where we are today as a country. Honorable Speaker, since Kenya faces both a physical deficit and a budget deficit, the finance bill serves as a key legislative tool for the government. It combines revenue enhancing measures with expenditure rationalization as a strategy to manage and reduce these deficits. Honorable Speaker, for the first time, a finance bill is similar to the medium-term review, and this is better for our country in terms of consistency and planning. This finance bill today that we are looking at, Honorable Speaker, is people-centered. I'm saying this, Honorable Speaker, because I personally participated when the Finance Committee, led by the very able Chair, Kuria Kimani, was going around seeking public views on what they had proposed in the budget. Honorable Speaker, and it is for this reason that after they listened passively to the citizens of this country, they did come up with a laughter of changes that are all in favor of the citizens of this country. Honorable Speaker, aside from the key highlights which the Finance Committee addressed, some of these proposals that they had proposed initially have now been dropped. Key is 16% VAT on bread. Honorable Speaker, they listened to the members of public and it is not there anymore. VAT on transportation of bulky things like sugarcane, they listened to the citizens and they removed. No increase in the mobile money transfer. Honorable Speaker, yesterday as I was passing through one of the streets in Nairobi, I had members, I had the people who are shouting, the citizens of this country who are severely misled that mobile money transfer will not be removed. Honorable Speaker, I want to say the committee listened to the citizens and this is one of the things that was removed, Honorable Speaker. Excess duty on vegetable oil, edible oil, is no longer there, Honorable Speaker. Then, Honorable Speaker, as the majority leader has alluded to, what this bill has tried to do, Honorable Speaker, it is to promote the local manufacturers. Honorable Speaker, it is very clear that moving forward, the local manufacturers, like the locally assembled bikes, they will be assembled duty-free as opposed to the imported ones. Honorable Speaker, we have also another very good advantage that the e-team has been excluded from farmers and small businesses who have a turnover below 1 million. And Honorable Speaker, this is a clear manifestation that this government is a bottom-up government as we had promised the electorates. Honorable Speaker, I want also to unveil the key achievements, Honorable Speaker, in this bill, especially for the employed Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, where the allowable pension has been extended from being taxed from 20,000 to 30,000. This is an achievement for our workers and the salaried people, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, out of what this bill has addressed, and very importantly, Honorable Speaker, we are at a time when our country is struggling with cancer, Honorable Speaker. And this time, the Finance Bill 2024 has reduced the cost of cancer drugs and exempted them from value-added tax, that is VAT. And this initiative, Honorable Speaker, is designed to alleviate financial pressure on patients and enhance access to medicine, cancer medicine, Honorable Speaker. And we are doing this when the country is struggling with increased cancer cases. I want to pinpoint a place like Meru County where cancer is on the rise, Honorable Speaker. And this bill, having removed cancer tablets, cancer medicine, and VAT-free, Honorable Speaker, this is a great achievement for cancer patients in this country. Honorable Speaker, we also want to underscore the achievement of employment of teachers. The education sector has been given a very huge budget, and out of this budget, Honorable Speaker, we are proud that all the teachers who are employed as interns, 46,000 of them will be turned to permanent and pensionable, Honorable Speaker, so that they can be able to bridge the gap in our education sector. Honorable Speaker, we know too well, investment in human capital is the one single investment that every progressive country must make. Honorable Speaker, education is very key in ensuring that we become globally competitive amongst our equals, Honorable Speaker. And employment of the 46,000 teachers, coupled with the 56,000 teachers who are employed last year, Honorable Speaker, this makes the greatest achievement that this Kenya Kwanza government has achieved in ensuring that in a span of 2 years, we have employed 102,000 permanent and pensionable teachers. On top of that, Honorable Speaker, there is another cohort of the 20,000 who will equally be employed on temporary or internship, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this is an achievement that we must all loud and welcome, because our youth, whom we promised jobs during that time of campaign, they are getting jobs and being absorbed in various areas. Honorable Speaker, I want also to say this Financial Bill 2022 includes provision to support individuals with also chronic diseases. Honorable Speaker, by establishing the emergency kitty, the SHIP, Chronic and Critical Illness Fund under the new Social Health Insurance, this fund will cover treatment. Honorable Speaker, it is evident that a majority of people who suffer from chronic diseases, they go through a very difficult moment. And this Bill 2024 has been able to cure this. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I strongly support this Finance Bill 2024, and I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Dorothy. Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I wish to start by saying that one of my favorite books is Good Girls Never Get the Corner Office. Mr. Speaker, this is in response to what you are telling me earlier in the morning when you are urging me to be a good example to the girls. The younger ones who are doing their first term, Mr. Speaker, if they are good girls, they'll never get corner office. Be as bad as Millie Odhiambo, you will be the mother of this house. I am a bad girl, and as a bad girl, I'm here serving my 4th term. So do not be cheated like the African culture where you are told have decorum, dress nicely, be kind, be nice. I'm telling you, you will go nowhere. Be a bad girl like me and you'll get somewhere. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I wish to declare my interest under the standing orders number 90, which Wamuchomba stood on, because I don't want to be declared disorderly. And that is because when you have a pecuniary or personal interest, you declare. And Mr. Speaker, I want to declare my interest as a former user of sanitary towels, and as Dynasty as a former user of diapers, and as a future user of diapers. Because as a woman, once you get menopausal, you will have leaks and you will use diapers. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say, it's not all women, so Rosa should not be worried, but there are women who get leaks. And I want to say that there are people, because we don't want to have shame over menopausal issues, we don't want shame over period. And Mr. Speaker, I am saying this because I've been sitting here today listening patiently to the men talking about sanitary towels that is in the finance bill. And they are speaking with authority. If we wanted to save money, the way the finance committee has done, and want to tax anything else, go and tax men innerwears. Go and tax men innerwears. Don't speak on our issues as women. Let us be the one to speak about sanitary towels. We are the ones who know what works for us, and you are saying we want to encourage the local manufacturing. While you are waiting to enable our local manufacturing agencies to create those sanitary towels, will we tell our periods to stop? Our periods will not stop while you are manufacturing. Our girls will have their menses as usual, and the cost that they are used to will be higher because that will come through underground. What I am saying is, Mr. Speaker, I do not support the finance bill. And I'll give you the reasons why I don't support it. One, I don't support it because it's devoid of a strong policy underpinning. Number two, I don't support it because it's not premised on a better model, but on a beta model. The KK government told us that their things are premised on BETA, but increasingly we are seeing it premised on BITTER, beta model. That's why I'll not support it. And Mr. Speaker, the other reason I will not support it, it's because it encourages opulence. Look at how much money I have. Look at the price of my watch. It's a 5 million watch, and I'll explain why, Mr. Speaker. So do not be in a hurry to ask me to explain. I'm going to explain. Mr. Speaker, number one, the one I've talked about, the tax system that is devoid of a strong policy underpinning or premised on a flawed policy underpinning. I will give you the example of the eco-levy that seeks to strike a balance between the economy and ecology but fails miserably to do that. Mr. Speaker, if I give you an example, this government has actually sponsored or facilitated roads in Fangano Island and the tarmac in Rusinga Island, even though they are taking pretty long. And I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, that if you are to use this model, the taxing model that they are saying, then it means that a contractor who is doing those roads and earning billions on those roads, Mr. Speaker, when they destroy the environment, the fishermen from Rembaringiti, Rusinga, Mfangano, and Sukuru Island, who will be making at most 1,000, will be asked to repair that person's damage through tax, forgetting the PPP principle. The person who destroys is the one who should pay that damage, not me. The fisherman of Omena making 1,000, you're expecting me to pay the tax of a person who is earning billions doing that road. I do not support this tax. Mr. Speaker, I can give you another example. Mr. Speaker, the second example I'm going to give is on the issue of the smartphones again. And I want to thank Honorable Rachel Nyamai, who actually said that one of the ladies that she's sponsoring her education, when she talked to her, the lady told her, I'm here doing TikTok. And we do not actually seem to understand how that relates to this tax. Now I'll tell how it relates to this tax. Mr. Speaker, if you are taxing digital content, Mr. Speaker, this girl has gone to town. I can tell you after this, Rachel Nyamai, myself and others will be on TikTok. The girls will be imitating us on TikTok. And they will be making money imitating us on TikTok. And then under this tax, we are telling them we are taxing you, TikTok. Why? They are doing that because there are no jobs. They have become innovative and look for their own jobs. And after they have got their own jobs, an industry that has not solidified, like teaching, like law, we want to kill that industry that is helping our young people. That is why the Gen Zs were on the streets. And Mr. Speaker, I'm so thrilled that I was shown a photo of a young girl who looks like me, and some people were saying, Millie, we can see you are here now, you can retire. And I wish she was in my constituency, I would have retired tomorrow. And Mr. Speaker, yesterday, my own niece, who I am the one who was raised since she was in primary school, she's lived in my house. I was with her. And I tried all means to try and divert her attention from what was going. How she managed to sneak in, and this morning she's telling me, and Mr. Speaker, before I got to what she was telling me, I told her, can I give you a lift to town? She told me, no, Auntie, I cannot be associated with members of parliament. Your generation, you have messed this country. We have to fix it. Gen Z. If we do not take Tuesday, Super Tuesday, as a wake-up call as a country, I don't know what else will take up as a wake-up call as a country. And I want to tell the president, who I served with in the same committee in parliament, who was my classmate in the university, fire those guys that you have hired who are giving you economic advice. They are not helping you at all. How do you even imagine bringing something like taxing bread, even if it is as a joke? That is a joke carried too far. That is a joke carried too far. You can crack doctors elsewhere. You can find a situation where the young people have banned the country based on your joke. Try those jokes elsewhere. Because Kenyans are suffering. Kenyans are tired of being taxed. And if we cannot listen to the Kenyans who are tired of being taxed, we have no business being in this house. We must listen to the Kenyans. And I want to say that you have done well in trying to deal with some of those issues. But there are still very many that are still here, Mr. Speaker. Because we have a short time, I may not mention all of them. But I want to say, like, for instance, the eco-levy. We are talking about trying to be environmentally friendly. Yet the things that we are taxing, we are not doing exactly that, Mr. Speaker. And we are taking away jobs of young people by the tax. Look at the increase in fuel. We are taking with the right hand. We are saying we are removing the tax with the right hand and adding with the left hand. Mr. Speaker, I had a lot to say about this, but I can see my time is almost up. And what I can see on my side, they want to add me. But I want to say that because of time I may not speak, but I just want to urge the president, fire the guys who are around you, listen to Kenyans. I was speaking to some of my colleagues here. Thank goodness I've been here for a long time. I was speaking, Mr. Speaker, if you could humor me by just giving me 1 minute, and I'll conclude.
Conclude.
Thank you. I appreciate. Mr. Speaker, I was speaking to some of my colleagues here, and I will not mention their names. About 3 weeks ago, they know because I talked to them yesterday, and I was telling them, your ground is getting terrible. And they told
Time up. Pukose Robert. Your time is up, Millie. Take your seat. Order, Angela.
Mr. Speaker, I'm standing under Standing Order 97-3, as read together with 1. Honorable Bowen had requested that, this is a very important bill that the Kenyans are watching and they want to hear what their members of parliament are saying about this and whether they have listened to their issues that they have raised about this bill. So will I be in order to ask that we reduce the time to 5 minutes, no, even up to tomorrow, to 5 minutes, so that each member, we are 349 members. If each of us was to take 10 minutes, it would take us up to 2 weeks from now. Yeah, 3 months. Surely, we should be fair so that everybody can make a contribution to it. I have not contributed, and I've been here since morning. Yeah? Yes. So I start with me to have 5 minutes.
Order, honorable members. Earlier on in the morning, member for Marakwet, is it East? Bowen Kangoko raised the same issue. Now it's popping out again. Are we comfortable with 10 minutes or we reduce to 5 minutes? Order. Yes, Rafael Wanjala. Wanjala, I see you raising. Round 5. Otienda Amolo. Order. Otienda Amolo. Support 5. Order, honorable members. I will put the question. Will those who want the time to be reduced to 5 minutes say aye? Aye. Will those who want to retain 10 minutes say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Okay, because order, honorable members, and I think it's only fair and just because my screen is bursting with the requests. So in 5 minutes, my teacher used to tell me, if you can't make your point in 2 minutes, you are unlikely to make it in 30 minutes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this finance bill with amendments. Having listened to the people whom we represent, having complained about VAT on bread, having complained about the 2.5% tax on the vehicles, having listened to them that we want to create jobs for our people. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee, and I want to tell the public that the committee is made up of members from both the opposition and the government side, or the minority and the majority. So this bill was not made by Parliament. It was done by the executive and it's been brought to the House. Your members of Parliament have listened to what you wanted to be amended. And therefore, we want to pass it with those amendments, and that is the essence of the public participation. This bill was brought to the public participation and it goes through the process. Honorable Speaker, when you listen to people outside there saying, reject the bill, this bill is also important because it has to raise part of the revenue to finance what the public requires from the government. And because it has to finance that, as we speak today, we've raised the money for counties to 400 billion. This bill is going to raise 346 billion. That 346 billion will be added with what is being collected in taxes to make it 400 billion so that the counties can have money to offer services. This is going to meet the budget deficit from what the government is collecting. So it is what the government continues to collect. And we need the public to understand that when a finance bill is done, it is a bill that will come into effect to support what the budget requires for the government to deliver. And therefore, we cannot say reject it in total, but you can also suggest what amendments should be done. And I think as people's representatives, we want to ask our Kenyans who are outside there, if you have amendments, you can approach your member of parliament, and the member of parliament can still have time to create that amendment. So the issue of saying reject the bill, I think should not be there. But we should be able to make those amendments, and I hope that our counterparts from the minority side will support those amendments so that we can be able to deliver and make sure that we have listened to what the Kenyan public demands of us. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support with amendments.
Honorable members, before I go to the next speaker, allow me to go back to order number 5 and allow the Chair, JLAC, to table a very important paper in furtherance of one of the NADCO bills. Murugara, get a working mic. Give him a working mic.
Back by seat. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. My young son here must be advised that he should not make use of his father's seat. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 19th June 2024. Report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the Senate amendments to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We go back to the bill. Makali Mulu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm that I've taken time to read through the bill itself and the report, which is 389 pages. Honorable Speaker, the idea of using 5 minutes is good, but I think it also discourages some of us who take time to read some of these reports. But I want to see this. Reading through the report, a lot of individuals and institutions did present their comments to the Finance and Planning Committee. And I want to appreciate them because based on the experience of last year, where the same number gave their comments and they were never taken on board, this time I thought they would not be able to appear. So we must appreciate. I also want to thank the committee for creating time to listen to them, and it made some efforts to factor in their comments, Honorable Speaker. But I was asking myself, Honorable Speaker, looking at the original bill, you wonder what was the thinking behind some of the proposals. And that's why I want to thank the committee because they have been able to undo some of them. But because I don't have a lot of time, I'll focus on what the report is saying and what I think from where I stand, that things have been made worse instead of being made better. Honorable Speaker, let me start with the proposal to increase the import declaration fee. If you look at the presentation by edible oil companies, Honorable Speaker, and the presentation by Kenya Association of Manufacturers, as well as the presentation by the Kenya National Commerce and Industry, Chamber of Commerce and Industry, they were proposing that, Honorable Speaker, the import declaration fee be maintained as it is, because by increasing that fee, you'll actually be increasing the cost of production. The reason being most of our factories and industries depend on imported inputs to produce their outputs. So as a result of that, the solution was that you either maintain the feed as it is so that you don't increase the cost of production. What does the committee propose? The committee has proposed to increase that fee from 2.5 to 3.5%. Meaning automatically, Honorable Speaker, by doing that, you increase the cost of imports which are coming to this country as inputs, and as a result of that, you increase the cost of production. When you increase the cost of production, automatically, Honorable Speaker, that cost will be transferred to the consumer. That will make our goods uncompetitive in terms of price. And that's why you see, Honorable Speaker, in this country, despite us talking about import protection, people are buying things which have been brought from other countries and buying at a cheaper price than we are producing them. So these to me are the critical issues. The second item, Honorable Speaker, is the Railway Development Levy. The Endebohori companies did propose that it is now at 1.5. And they propose that we maintain it as it is. And by doing that, we'll have saved the cost of the oil by about 72 shillings per litre. What has happened? We have increased that levy from the proposal of the committee, because now we're talking about the report, from 1.5 to 2.5, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, if you look at that, what have we done? We are likely to increase the cost of production, because that levy will be levied on all the goods which are imported, and then a good which will go through our railway transport system, Honorable Speaker. So again, instead of helping our manufacturing sector, we are making it worse. To make things worse, Honorable Speaker, if you look at this report, the last clause is a proposed new clause to increase fuel maintenance levy by 9 shillings, Honorable Speaker, by 7 shillings. Anytime you touch fuel in this country, Honorable Speaker, you touch the whole sector, you touch the whole economy, and by doing that, Honorable Speaker, you increase the cost of production, and this will directly affect the Wajikos, the Mwendes of this country, and I can tell you for sure, Honorable Speaker, this now bill, the proposed amendments are going to make this bill more worse, and it's a very good candidate for voting no at the point of voting. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to submit and say that.
Time up. Kangoko Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I want to stand to support the finance bill. Mr. Speaker, this morning, the leader of minority, my good friend, Opiyo Wandayi, asked a question as to why this finance bill was so contentious. And since we have had a finance bill since 1963, and the finance bill 2024-25 is creating a serious issues, including demonstration in the streets. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. What is outside there, Mr. Speaker, or what the people outside there, what they have been told by activists and people who have not read the bill, Mr. Speaker, is completely misleading. Mr. Speaker, I know there has been some contentious clauses in this bill, but Mr. Speaker, as moved by the chair of finance this morning, Honorable Speaker, you will find that the bill which was proposed by Treasury, the committee looked at the bill and they proposed several amendments which are actually people-friendly, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that in the original bill, there was a 16% VAT on bread. And Mr. Speaker, the bill in the House, or the report in the House now, as by the committee, that VAT has been dropped. Mr. Speaker, the proposal to have 2.5% motor vehicle tax, that clause now has been dropped. Mr. Speaker, the exercise duty, which was proposed in the original bill, especially on vegetable products, Mr. Speaker, that one has been dropped. The Honorable Speaker, the eco-levy, which is, we have had many of our colleagues here discussing. This one, Mr. Speaker, as many of my colleagues who spoke before me, it can only attract on imported
finished products. And Mr. Speaker, we want to move from a trading country to a manufacturing economy. We cannot be a country which is importing almost everything, importing including even a tissue paper. So the reason why this one is there, and we are saying it can only apply to imported finished products. But on locally manufactured products, Mr. Speaker, the tissue papers, the sanitary towels, and anything else locally manufactured, it's not going to attract the eco-living. Mr. Speaker, some months back, we saw many of our farmers across the country. We saw in Murang'a, we saw in central Kenya, and across the country, that they were required to file their sales using the e-teams. Those e-teams, those avocado farmers who were told to give a KRA e-teams, Mr. Speaker, under this finance bill, the e-teams has been dropped. And any other small business which is 1 million and below, Honorable Speaker, is not going to attract the e-teams. Mr. Speaker, the other day, the Cabinet Secretary of Treasury, Mr. Speaker, read the budget, the national budget, 2024-2025, before this House. That budget proposed, including the increment of counties, the monies to the counties to a tune of almost 400 billion. There is an increase in CDF. There is an increase of about 50 million per constituency in electricity. And Mr. Speaker, we can only achieve that if we can pass the finance bill. Mr. Speaker, on the taxation, which we all support, the finance bill proposes to increase taxation on cigarettes and tobacco products, on alcohol, and also on betting, gaming, and gambling, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have many of our youth who have got lost because of these issues of betting and gambling. The proposal to increase tax, Mr. Speaker, is to make sure that in that space we control our young people and also we direct them to a very good course in this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say also on the issue of alcohol. We have seen many of our young people, they have got lost and drunk with the cheap alcohol. With the increase in tax, it's going to address the...
Time up. Otienda Molo. You'll get. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the outset, I oppose this bill. And even having listened to the chairman on the raft of proposed amendments, to that I say too little, too late. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I think I have myself recorded 120 reasons for rejection of this bill. And Mr. Speaker, it is sufficient that the professional associations have spoken to this, the church has spoken to this, civil society has spoken to this, and Kenyans have spoken to this. There are legal reasons for rejecting this bill. There are financial and economic reasons, Mr. Speaker. There are humanitarian reasons. But more fundamentally, it is a moral question. This regime has lost the capacity for shame and does not even regard Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I was tempted to attack some of these entities, the church, some ambassadors, because they are the ones who are the forefront for supporting this regime. But I will forgive them. I will only tell them it is good you have realized the error of your ways. This regime, Mr. Speaker, needs to understand the etymology of governance. The whole idea of governance is that the people voluntarily relinquish some of their rights and liberties for the government to protect them. But in this case, we have a government that does not want to protect its citizens, it actually wants to decimate them. We must reject that idea. Mr. Speaker, it is important to understand that a budget is made for the people. And traditionally, it is the people who must be listened to. We have a draft bill whose origins is essentially the Bretton Woods institutions, the IMF, and secondarily, the World Bank. Mr. Speaker, The Bretton Woods institutions were never made to further the interests of developing countries. The Bretton Woods institutions were established in 1944 essentially to protect and the war-ravaged countries, which essentially were all the developed countries. Therefore, when they come and they give us prescriptions, those are prescriptions that must be taken with a pinch of salt. In the 1980s and the 1990s, they gave us what was called the structural adjustment programs. It is only when Kenya, like other countries, rejected those subs that we started going somewhere. Now we are in a situation where the Bretton Woods institutions have come back in full swing in the face of the executive. It must be rejected. Mr. Speaker, it is important to understand that this bill does not protect and is not the interest of Kenyans. And some people are fear-mongering, saying that if we reject the bill, then we'll be in a crisis. We will not be in any crisis. Like last year, Mr. Speaker, when the High Court stayed the 2023 bill, the 2022 bill continued until finally, the bill was cleared. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the 2023 bill, which is already draconian enough, but is less draconian than this one, let us reject this bill. The 2023 bill will continue, and let us have a bipartisan approach to budget making so that we can sit down and agree on the basic minimum that must be included in that budget. Mr. Speaker, I reject and I oppose. Thank you very much.
Paul Melly. Julius, sorry, not Paul. Julius Melly, Chair Education. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I rise to support this bill. Mr. Speaker, this bill is quite progressive, and I want to ask members who have opted not to read the report, and I think as part of the parliamentary procedures, Mr. Speaker, you gave your guidance that every other bill that is tabled in the House procedurally goes to the committee, and the committee did its work very diligently, led by Honorable Kimani Kuria. They went down and met the public. They met the stakeholders. They met all the Kenyans who actually gave their suggestions to this particular bill. Honorable Speaker, as we debate this particular bill, we need to know that as the bill stands now, Honorable Kuria and members of the budget of planning committee, that is a committee, have made a raft of proposals on amendments that are very progressive, very important, and in fact, certain issues that are being discussed by members in this floor are not part of what the committee recommended. But the committee recommended a number of things. That one, taxation of certain nature. For example, let me just give an example of the deletion of certain clauses. Clause 124 on motor vehicle tax. Previously, the bill, when it was tabled in the House, Mr. Speaker, had made proposals on motor vehicle taxes, the bread tax, and many others. But the committee, in its wisdom, and having had the Kenyans, and having had the stakeholders, actually deleted most of those clauses. That the members opted to address the public and Kenyans as if the committee has not made its report in the House is not good, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me just go down and enumerate why I support this bill. That clause 23 is actually on the issue of athletes. There was a proposal to tax the income by the athletes. The committee went ahead and deleted that and asked that athletes be incentivized and be allowed, and their monies they earned actually will give an income to this country. On the issue of eco-tax, a lot of imported items have actually been taxed to protect the local manufacturers. And this has been said all the time by the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, that the local manufacturers need to be protected against the large, well-established companies which can actually flood our markets. And in so doing, we are not exporting the jobs. When we buy from foreign countries, and Mr. Speaker, I would just want members to know this, we are actually exporting jobs to those nations. We are actually exporting money. And that is why, from last year's finance bill, we have been able to stabilize the issue of foreign exchange. We have also been able to bring the inflation down. Mr. Speaker, when you look at clauses 34A, 1 and B, the committee proposed to actually delete even taxes on aircraft spare parts and many other things. This is actually the reason why Kenya is a hub in this region, where most of the countries in the region always do their maintenance and servicing of their aircrafts in this country. Clause 45 up to 48 introduces the eco levy, and this one is actually to make sure that imported material from other countries are actually taxed, and this is actually to safeguard our climates and also to ensure that the way we dispose issues like phones and even tires. And in this same clause, Mr. Speaker, we have the issue that the motorcycles, the wheelchairs, tires, and everything else are exempt because these are Kenyans of low level who are going to use this. So as we speak, Mr. Speaker, this bill is very important. It is serving this country very well, and therefore I support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Melly. Who did I want? John Badi. We have reduced time to 5 minutes. All of you will have an opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by saying that since President Ruto took over power, I've never been to State House. I don't intend to. I have never had a one-on-one meeting with him. So the only forum I can use is this one, to tell him what I think he needs to do. The President, I want to tell you, the people you have hired, economic advisors you have hired at State House, and the people you have put at the Treasury are not advisors, but they are economic saboteurs. Please look for economic advisors to help you govern this country for the remaining period of 3 years. I say so because, Mr. Speaker, this idea and perception that is coming across, and I hear it a lot even with my colleagues across the aisle, that for you to grow this economy, for you to narrow the budget deficit, you need to tax Kenyans more. That is, nothing can be further from the truth. Mr. President, ask your team to compare and give you the data. When we passed the finance bill of 2023, what effect has it have on revenue collection? If you compare revenue collection up to 12 months leading to March 2024, the growth in revenue is 13.8%. Compare that to the same period ending March 2023, revenue growth was 14.5%, far much higher than revenue growth for this year, even in a year of election. The reason is simple. You are discouraging tax collection by imposing excessive high taxes which are discouraging business in this country. I heard the leader of majority tell us not to be populist, not to play populism. I want to remind Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, that which you call populism, that which you call playing to the gallery, is what has made Kenya Kwanza government, which was just stamping, to climb down and accept what Kenyans had started saying early, and they were not listening. Therefore, we will continue playing populism if that is what is going to make Kenya Kwanza listen to us. Mr. Speaker, this government is giving you with the right hand
and taking with another, the left hand. Why do I say so? We are being lied to as a country that now VAT on bread is going to be reduced, which anyway was not there in the first place. You are the ones who came up with this crazy idea. This crazy idea was not in our books. It is this government which came up with a crazy idea, and now they are telling us we should celebrate when we have caught them. It is like someone trying to steal your cow at night. And when you hear the footsteps of the cow and you come out and you shout and make noise, then he comes back with the cow and he tells you you should celebrate because I've not stolen it. We have caught you. The people of Kenya has caught Kenya Kwanza when they wanted to introduce tax that don't exist anywhere in the world, like motor vehicle tax. This government will go down as a motor vehicle tax government. Mr. Speaker, look at what the committee is trying to do. This Committee of Finance. After Kenyans have made noise and you are reducing these taxes, then you come up with a clause at the end, the last paragraph of your report. You are going to introduce a new clause to this bill, which was not there, called road maintenance levy. And you are telling us clearly that you have not been able to collect enough levy in this year than previous year because the prices of fuel was high, and you are proposing to increase it here by 7 shillings, but I'm told, I have information, that you are going to move it to 9 shillings when we come to the committee of the whole house. We must reject these attempts to increase the price of petroleum product, because that will increase even the price of electricity and therefore will increase the cost of production.
Order, Mbadi. Yes, Chairman. What's your point of order and under what standing order? Give him the mic.
Honorable Speaker, I raise under standing order number 91. Is it in order for my very learned colleague and senior in the profession to mislead
He's
this
not
House?
learned, he's educated.
Okay. My senior accountant.
Gender Molo, you should defend the profession.
Is it in order, Honorable Speaker, for CPA Bandi, an experienced accountant and a very experienced lawmaker, to say and to inform this House that the report on the finance and national planning is amending the road maintenance levy to increase fuel prices? He should know better that an increase in the fuel prices is contained under regulations on the Kenya Roads Board Act. And therefore, introduction of increase of fuel cannot be done on a finance bill. It is just a matter of simple logic that such an experienced legislator should know, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Badi. Finish up. Badi, finish up. Give Mandi the mic.
The mic. Mr. Speaker, I'm shocked that the chair of Finance and Planning Committee does not even understand this report. Let us go to page 3, is it 397 or 377? There is the last paragraph, Mr. Speaker, and I want to read it if you allow me. New clause 66. New clause 66, road maintenance levy. The committee notes that the road maintenance levy is charged on all petroleum. Don't want to read all that. It says, additionally, the committee to help raise sufficient funds to maintain and repair roads across the country, the committee recommends an increase of the levy pursuant to Section 3 of the Road Maintenance Levy Fund Act from 18 shillings to 25 shillings per litre on all petroleum products. Mr. Speaker, new clause means what? You are going to put a new clause.
Order.
You know, Mr. Speaker,
yes, Kimani.
I came to Parliament.
Order. Nothing personal, Bandi.
Honorable
You are a
Speaker,
senior.
Honorable Speaker, this matter was first raised by the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. Wait, no, for Cabinet Secretary for
Order.
Transport.
He has been challenged. Let him
Hold
respond.
on. The committee extensively deliberated on this matter. And it's a matter of fact of law that you cannot bring an amendment to increase fuel through the Kenya Roads Management Act. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, so when the committee will be proposing amendments during the committee of the whole House, we have already submitted our report that this cannot be done on this finance bill, and that is a fact. So, in as much as Honorable Speaker, our friends here, on one hand, they are saying they want to discuss the finance bill, the proposals as they are. On the other hand, they are saying they want to discuss the report. I think they should also declare whether they want to discuss the finance bill with the report as it is.
Order. Next, Murumba Chikati. Order. You have an opportunity to amend this bill at committee of the whole. So hold your horses and Murumba Chikati, Badi's time is over. Your time is over. Murumba Chikati.
He sent us. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while supporting this bill, let me also try and look at the needs that are facing our country across the sectors. Mr. Speaker, one of the biggest challenges and why I support this bill.
Yes, order, Chikati. What is out of order, Women Rep for Migori?
Mr. Speaker, you
under what standing order?
You will get it. I'm a first time. I don't know the standing order well, but you need to know that there are women in the House. Mr. Speaker, kindly balance. If you can't see us, we can walk around. You'll be seeing that there are some female figures in the House.
Are you alleging that Millie Odhiambo is not a woman? Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, can I continue? Thank you. So, thank you, Mr. Speaker. While supporting this bill, I would like also to examine the needs that are facing our country across different sectors. One of the biggest challenges we've had is with the education sector. The JSS, Mr. Speaker, was started without proper infrastructure. We have a serious problem of infrastructure and manpower in the JSS. It is my hope, Mr. Speaker, that these funds be raised through taxation so that we could be able to support the JSS, which is really struggling to pick up, and deliver it to where it is supposed to be. The next area, Mr. Speaker, that I would like to look at is the TVET sector. TVET is critical to the development of our country. But this TVET lacks two things: equipment and manpower. And it is my hope, Mr. Speaker, that some of the funds allocated and which is going to be raised can be able to deliver the TVET sector as required. Access to electricity, Mr. Speaker, in the rural areas is a problem in Kenya. The last mile, which had started in 2013, between 2013 and 2017, stalled along the way. It is my hope that the last mile electricity in rural areas can be able to be spread so that rural Kenya can be able to access electricity just as much as urban centers. Mr. Speaker, access to the health sector in Kenya is important, and therefore, part of this bill proposes to raise money for the social insurance fund, which is critical to access to health in our country. And access to health is also important because it translates to the development of our country in general. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Chikati, you finished? Yes. What's your point of order? Sorry, I was consulting with the chairman.
Mr. Speaker, there seems to be a serious level of misrepresentation in the documents that we are looking at. And we trusted that the report by which we are comparing the debate on the bill is accurate, is honest, and is straightforward. It has transpired by the words of the chair of the committee, who has signed the document, that the document did not bear this issue on RMLF. Now, Mr. Speaker, all of us have come here with good faith, and we want to debate this thing in the best of faith as we can. We have even accepted that these issues, although they are going to come in future, in fact, it is like we are anticipating debate, but we have accepted that the chair of the committee will do what is honorable, which will be to make these amendments at the committee stage. But if with this serious misrepresentation, if you work out the maths, you are talking about billions as arising out of that element of raising 9 shillings on RLMF. Now, do we still have good faith that we are dealing with a report which will end up in changing what people are saying out there? Or is it that we are debating this bill, and when we come to the committee stage, then we will be faced with different things?
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, please attend to that so that we can have a debate which is correct and forthright in the House.
I hear you. Mishimbogo. For the point, Kajwang, I hear you. Mishimbogo.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza niwapatie kongole wa Kenya kwa kusimama kidete na kuweka kilio cha haki katika mswada huu wa fedha. Na niweze kusema kama ulivyosema, tunazungumzia ripoti na tunazungumzia pia huu mswada wenyewe. Na katika ripoti imezungumzia haswa ya kwamba wataweka kifungu 66 waweze kuongeza pesa ile ambayo itakuwa inatoka katika mafuta kutoka shilingi 18 mpaka shilingi 25. Na tunasisitiza hapa ya kwamba jambo hilo halitafanyika, na tukifika Committee of All House jambo hilo lisiweko, kwa sababu iwapo itaongezwa basi itakuwa yale yote ambayo yamerekebishwa ni bure, kwa sababu ukiongeza mafuta umeongeza uchukuzi, umeongeza mambo ya kutengeza bidhaa, umeongeza kila kitu, yale yote itakuwa ni bure. Jambo la pili, Mheshimiwa Spika, hata sisi kama Wakenya iwapo tunataka kukimu bajeti yetu, haiwezi kuwa njia ni moja tu ya kuweka ushuru kwa Wakenya ambao ni walalahoi na wamefuka ukutani. Lazima tubadilishe mbinu, lazima tuwe na mbinu mbadala ya kufufua viwanda, ya kujenga viwanja na kutafuta njia ya kupata mapato ya taifa letu la Kenya kupitia rasilimali nyingi ambazo tunazo katika taifa la Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, niweze kusema pia haya mambo ya mazingira, kuongeza kodi ya mazingira, na tumezungumzia ya kwamba sodo na nepi kuwa zinapatikana na wameambiwa ziko China wazingoje zije. Hiyo ni kumaanisha hatuna uwezo thabiti wa kuweza kuwa na sodo, na hivyo basi afya ya kina mama haswa katika mambo ya hedhi itakuwa na matatizo iwapo tutakuwa tumeongeza jambo kama hili. Jambo la pili, mambo ya mafuta ya kutoka kwenye miti na kutoka kwa wanyama, ile Kiingereza tunasema edible oil. Kwa nini ipunguzwe na isitolewe kabisa, isiwekwe sufuri ushuru? Hii ni kitu ambacho kinatumika, bidhaa inatumika na Wakenya wengi wale walalahoi. Kwa hivyo jambo hili lazima tulitowe. Jambo jengine, nasikitika sana, sijui ni nani ametoa mambo haya ama kupeana mawaidha ya kuweka mambo ya ushuru ya mkate na mambo ya ushuru ya ile mifuko ya majani. Jamani, yule ambaye alikuwa ametoa mawaidha hayo, tutatoka tumwambie shetani ashindwe, kwa sababu sisi wa Kenya mkate twaupenda, twautumia sana, na chai ndio kiamsha kinywa chetu. Nataka niseme pia Mheshimiwa Spika, hata ukiangalia katika huu mswada kuna mambo mengine ambayo yamejificha ambayo yanatuathiri sana, kama vile imezungumzia stove zile za kupika. Stovu zile za kupika ni stovu ambazo Wakenya wengi ambao hawawezi kununua meko za kutumia gesi wanatumia stovu, na hizo pia zimeongezwa ushuru. Ukiangalia tunapigana na janga la malaria. Leo tunaambiwa ile tunaita Kiingereza mosquito repellent, ama ile dawa ya kujipaka ili kusudi watu wasiumwe na mbu na kuleta malaria,
yes,
pia imeongezwa ushuru.
Order, Millie Odhiambo, what is the issue? Under what standing order?
Mr. Speaker, under standing order 1.
No, it's
Mr.
not
Speaker,
available.
I'll explain, Mr. Speaker.
Standing
If you
order
give
number
me...
1 is not available to you. Millie, I have the school here and I'm going to acknowledge them. If that is what you want to raise, and it's out of order for you to shoot into the debate on finance bill to mention a school from Mfangano. Take your seat. Take your seat.
Mheshimiwa Spika, bidhaa zile ambazo zinatoka nje ambazo tunasema tutaziwekea ushuru, lazima tuwe waangalifu tusije tukaweka ushuru katika bidhaa za kutoka nje ambazo sisi kama taifa bado hatujatengeza viwanda vya kutosha kama zile clinkers. Sasa hivi tunajenga manyumba ya bei nafuu na tunatumia material nyingi sana, na hivi basi hatuna viwanda vya kutosha vya kutengeza bidhaa kama hizi. Kwa hivyo lazima tuangalie wakati mwafaka ambao tunaweza kuongeza ushuru kwa bidhaa za kutoka nje wakati tumetimiza na tumekuwa na uwezo kama taifa la Kenya. Vile vile pia nataka niseme ya kwamba mambo ya magari, ambapo magari tulikuwa tunaambiwa ya kwamba ni mapato, na tulipoambiwa ni mapato ya kwamba tuweze kutoa ushuru. Nataka kusema magari si mapato. Magari nile tunasema asset kwa Kiswahili, rasilimali, na huwezi kumtoza mtu ushuru katika rasilimali. Jamani, tupunguze matumizi ya kiolela katika maofisi yetu. Ofisi ya naibu wa rais inataka kufanyiwa marekebisho, mabilioni ya mapesa. Ukiangalia bei ya kununua hiyo ofisi na bei ya marekebisho ni tofauti sana. Lazima tuangalie ufujaji wa pesa tuweze kusaidia taifa la Kenya, lakini tusitegemee mambo ya ushuru peke yake tukaona tunaweza kukimu bajeti yetu. Nataka niseme sisi kama Wakenya tuendelee kusimama kidete, tusingoje wanasiasa tunapoona mambo yanatukwaza, haswa haya ya kiuchumi. Tusimame sisi wenyewe kidete tuweze kusikia sauti zetu zikizungumziwa. Jambo jingine ambalo ningetaka pia kuzungumzia, niseme ya kwamba tuweze pia
Honorable members, before I give the next member, I want to acknowledge in the public gallery Gethsemane Gardens Academy from Suba North, Homa Bay. On behalf of the House and myself, I welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Thank you. Wanjiku Muya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support the Finance Bill 2024 because the proposal from Nyandarua County and Kipipiri have been heard. And I want to confirm to the farmers from Kipipiri that their potatoes will not be taxed. But having said that, Honorable Speaker, as the chair of regional integration, I want to put information to the House that as EAC we are a community. And I want to discourage members from debating and indicating that the bill is against the eggs from Uganda. That is not the essence of having a community. We can debate it nicely. The eggs from every region within the community are allowed. You can have them from Uganda. So constrain debating on that matter, because as long as you pay, but let us discourage to discuss that the eggs from Uganda, the onions from Tanzania. We are a community, we can also sell to them. Honorable Speaker, I want this House to be honest to the Kenyans and more to the Gen Z.
Honorable Speaker, we have a budget. And because many members have debated on the issues that were raised by Kenyans, and I want to congratulate the committee by the very able chair, Honorable Kuria, because they had the proposal of Kenyans on vehicle, on agriculture, on all those things that have been debated. I want to restrain myself from debating on the same and seek that this House become honest for once to the Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, we must ask ourselves, do we need a budget? Of course, yes, we need a budget. How do we finance the budget? Honorable Speaker, the Council of Governors have been camping at State House asking for more funds. Honorable Speaker, these members, led by myself, have been camping at Honorable C.S. Murkomen asking for roads. Honorable Speaker, these members have been speaking of JSS teachers, asking for billions to pay them. These members have been speaking for the old, asking for more than 40 billions to pay the senior citizens. And so, it beats all the logics that we can join the public in the gallery and the bloggers and Jay-Z, and instead of educating them that even if you go to the road, you can only go to the road, but then you don't need to have the roads in your constituency. Instead of us as members informing the public that we need money, 600 billion for education, we are supporting the public and raising the emotions, which in my view, I think it is dishonest. It is honest to educate the public that the county governors were camping at State House because the citizens, in fact, is a cycle, Honorable Speaker, the citizens back home were also camping at the governor's residence and their offices asking for projects. Why we go to Murkomen is because our citizens also come to our offices, our phones, and our homes, also asking for the project. So it is a whole cycle. And somehow the budget is also political. You need to do a road in your constituency. The governors need to do their project in their counties. Where will the president get the money? The money has to be raised. And then there is no need of raising emotions and trying to support the bloggers who are only saying reject the finance bill, and yet they are not saying reject the roads in our constituency. Honorable Speaker, I want to put a point about the treasury boards. As much as we want to defend the locals, we also need money, and no village can stay alone. We also need money from investors. I have seen that the Treasury Board, particularly the infrastructure, and I'll be moving an amendment I have already put possibly to your office or the clerk. It will be charged effective July 5%, while for investors will be charged 15%. I feel this is very high, on the very high side, and for purpose of continuity of government earning money and quick money from treasury boards, particularly the infrastructure, it is my hope that my amendment and those who support me will go through. Honorable Speaker, without so much, I just want to insist that this House be honest. We need budget, and budget.
Thank you, Muya. Honorable members, I want to repeat what I order. Those who intend to file amendments, remember we said by 1 o'clock tomorrow, you must have filed your amendments. Beyond that, they will be rejected. Okay? Babu Owino.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose the bill, the finance bill 2425, on the following, based on the following grounds. That number one, Mr. Speaker, there was anger that was expressed yesterday on the streets coming from Kenyans, and to be specific, the Gen Z, the Generation Z revolution that started yesterday reminds me, Mr. Speaker, of number one, the revolution that took place in China, the Chinese Revolution, that was also known as the Peasant Revolution or the Mamamboga Revolution, that occurred in the year 1949, which was headed by a gentleman called Chairman Mao Zedong, together with Deng Xiaoping. Mr. Speaker, the revolution that started yesterday also reminds me of the Russian Revolution, which was the Bolshevik Revolution that took place in 1917 under the leadership of Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin. It further reminds me, Mr. Speaker, of the Bourbon Restoration in France, the French Revolution that took place in the year 1789, that was headed by Maximilien Robespierre together with Napoleon Bonaparte, the military genius. Mr. Speaker, that revolution advocated for three things. Number one, equality and fraternity. Can you just shut up as I pump knowledge in your empty mind?
Kagombe. Baba, will you not take your seat? Yes, give Kagombe the...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the member for Embakasi East,
what is out of order,
is beating drums of war. It is very unfortunate to use this forum, Mr. Speaker.
Standing order, Kagombe.
The relevance of what the member of Parliament is speaking about is not relevant to the bill that we are discussing here. What he's doing is taking an opportunity to use this floor to beat drums of war in this country. We are at a very bad moment at the moment, at this time, and we cannot allow that to happen on this floor, on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker.
Go on.
Mr. Speaker, you know I don't like responding to fools.
Order.
The Bible says in the
Can
book
you
of,
withdraw that?
it's
There
in
are
the
no
book,
fools in this house.
in the book of Proverbs 26, the Bible says, Mr. Speaker, that never respond to a fool because the...
Order, Babu Wino. Order, Babu Wino. In this house, order members, whether a member represents fishermen from the shores of the lake or the sea, whether a member represents herdsmen, whether a member is a professor, you are all honorable members of this house. And there are no fools in this house. And I want to warn you, Babu Wino, respect begets respect. Respect your colleagues, they will respect you. There are no fools here. Can you withdraw and apologize?
Mr. Speaker, a fool is somebody who does not understand something.
Order, Babu.
If I think that somebody is a fool,
Order, Babu Wino. You withdraw and apologize, or I truncate the mic and give the floor to somebody else. Give him the mic. Yes, Babu.
I withdraw.
And apologize.
I don't apologize, Mr. Speaker.
Withdraw and apologize.
You can give the mic to somebody else, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
But I don't withdraw.
Okay, truncate the mic. Mutunga. Yes, Chonga. Give the mic to Chonga.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you made a statement before the House went for lunch that people should not even need to remove their cards from the sockets. Mr. Speaker,
they didn't.
I went there, Mr. Speaker, after lunch I was number 7. When I came here, I was told I'm still number 7. Right now, the number of members who have contributed are more than 30, Mr. Speaker. So I wanted to know whether indeed we are still going with the list, or maybe you have changed the rules so that those who may not have a chance to speak can do something else.
Honorable Chonga, utaongea, hakuna shida. Honorable members, as you debate this, I want to repeat this. You know, there are people with various levels of education, various levels of knowledge, various levels of wealth, and many other things. Humility costs nothing. Respect costs nothing. The fact that somebody has said something you don't like doesn't make him a fool. The fact that somebody has said something you don't agree with doesn't make him a fool. Enda soma kitabu kiliandikwa na Mwalimu Nyerere akifafanua tofauti ya pumbavu na mjinga na utaelewa. Endelea Bwana Mutunga.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to also add my voice to this debate. Honourable Speaker, I stand to support the adoption of the committee report towards the amendments to the finance bill. Honourable Speaker, Kenyans have spoken and Kenyans have been heard. Many are times when you say that Kenyans are not heard, but this time around, Honourable Speaker, Kenyans have been heard and they have significantly changed the content and context of this bill. Honourable Speaker, the importance of the finance bill is that it gives the government the ability and the force and the mandate to support development, to support the running of the government itself. This is done by this House because we are mandated by the Constitution under Article 114 to impose or vary the different rates and taxes that different individuals and institutions do pay. Honourable Speaker, many speakers have spoken to revenue generation by governments. Government can get money from international trade, which we are not doing a lot. International trade does not mean one way. It's not importation. A lot more of exportation so that we may be able to earn foreign exchange and even make money as a government through taxes. Strengthening of the shilling is another one, but I want to dwell a lot more on the corporate and individual taxes. Honestly, this is the main source of income for this country, and therefore for us to be able to even engage in manufacturing, for us to be able to diversify the sources of revenue for our economy, we must be able to get money to invest. And the only way we can get this money is through taxation. Honourable Speaker, imposition of taxes sometimes will help us in various ways. Let me look specifically at the import substitution. Honourable Speaker, say for the foreign exchange increase, the imposition of the taxes also increases the possibilities for employment. We have very many Kenyans out there who are not employed, and we need to have them employed by creating possibilities for them. There are specific provisions within the report which basically vary the taxes. For instance, excise duty on potatoes, onions, and table eggs. I would like to dwell on this for 1 minute, Honourable Speaker. When we import potatoes, we make sure that our farmers do not produce. When we import onions, we export labor for our farmers. We bar them from producing. When we import eggs, for the table eggs, we make sure that our poultry farmers do not have market or they cannot sell competitively. So, Honourable Speaker, barring those ones through taxation on position of import duty is important. But there is a specific egg that is excluded, and this is the viable egg, which is basically used for production of day-old chicks. That is an input. It is not for the table. Honourable Speaker, eco-levy has been introduced in some of the issues, and I want to specifically dwell on the tires. Honourable Speaker, many of the people speaking in the social media are alluding to the fact that tires especially for the wheelbarrow, for the motorbikes and others have a tax. The tax has been removed, and it is important for Kenyans to know that the motorcycles that have got a duty on them and those that are fully imported when they are fully assembled, not the ones that are assembled in Kenya. Specifically on agriculture, Honourable Speaker, the VAT on cane transportation has been waived off, and this is important for purposes of reducing cost to the farmers. Let me talk about the issue of alcoholic beverages. Honourable Speaker, the movement from levying alcohol on quantity and specifically going to the alcohol content is important because it will bar our young people from engaging in very concentrated alcoholic substances. Honourable Speaker, there has been an exemption of duty, a proposal for exemption of duty within this report for the beverages originating from sorghum, millet, and cassava. What this does, Honourable Speaker, is basically to to improve the production of these particular commodities and therefore encourage production of other beverages through them. Honourable Speaker, there has been improvement within the report of disposable income. This is as a result of, for instance, levying 5% of the gross income on the per diems as the waiver, which will increase the disposable income as opposed to the previous 2,000. Honorable Speaker, the inclusion of SHIF and the housing levy as statutory deductions also increases the disposable income. The final one, Honorable Speaker, I want to talk about is the motor vehicle circulation levy. This was a major issue, and I had also proposed to bring an amendment on this particular issue, but I'm glad the report recognized that and did away with it. Honorable Speaker, this report is balanced. We must raise some money. We cannot reduce everything. We cannot remove everything. We should be able.
Thank you. Honorable Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It has been a long wait, but it's worth it for the people of Funyula and the people of Samia. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, a finance bill is meant to cure two issues: to make proposals for revenue raising for that particular financial year, and to make administrative changes to existing financial or revenue raising measures and taxes of that kind of a nature. Honorable Speaker, as I stand here today, I join the Kenyans all over the country who have been very unequivocal that they reject this particular bill. And they reject it emphatically, and they have got very valid reasons to reject it, Honorable Speaker. I'm here to represent the people of Funyula because there's an established principle, no taxation without representation. So, Honorable Speaker, I'm here on behalf of the people, and I state what the people of Kenya have told me. Honorable Speaker, just perusing through the draconian measures contained in this bill, Honorable Speaker, clearly indicates that drafters of the bill are sadists, are impervious to the suffering of the people of Kenya, and I call upon the cabal and the coteria that presented this bill to go and soul search and find out, are they part of the Kenyan people or are part of the oppressors? Honorable Speaker, in all fairness, how would you impose an income tax on an asset? How? I mean, a car is an asset. It's not an income generating activity. How do you impose income tax on an asset? Honorable Speaker, how do you impose income tax on the very basic things? Bread, sanitary pads, whatever they call it. In our days, they used to call them napkins. Now they are called pampers. During our days when we were parents, they were called napkins. How do you impose VAT and increase the cost of all those things in such a draconian manner in hard times, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, they will pontificate that they have made changes to the bill, that the benevolence of the Almighty, whether the Almighty God or whatever, has instructed them to make changes to the bill. Honorable Speaker, and I still hold my position that a committee report does not navigate or does not negate a bill. It's just a committee report. It can either be carried or it can be failed. So I want to tell Kenyans wherever you are, this is a red herring, this is a gimmick, do not fall onto it. Be relentless in your push, be relentless on harassing your MPs to make sure they protect the rights and interests of the Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as we stand here, we have passed two finance bills under this regime. We have passed this second one, we passed the first one, this second one, under this regime. They keep on gloating that we have reduced the fiscal deficit. That from 6 point something to 3 point something, Honorable Speaker. And I want Kenyans to understand this. Any reduction in fiscal deficit must be commensurate with improvement in GDP growth rate. Honorable Speaker, the GDP growth of Kenya has stagnated at 5%. And the World Bank estimates this year indicates likewise it will remain the same at 5%. So the so-called fiscal reduction of fiscal the deficit is a paper story, has no impact at all on the ground. Honorable Speaker, we need to be very careful. This is a country of close to 50 million Kenyans, and all Kenyans must be treated equally without discrimination. Honorable Speaker, imposing a tax or some kind of raw material, clinker, so that you benefit, you improve the economic value of a particular player in the industry is unconstitutional and is extremely unfair. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, I really want to send a message to the President. And if he has read the book of Chinua Achebe, Okonkwo was told, this boy has called you father, don't kill him. He went ahead and killed him because he has been told by customs to kill him. IMF, Brinted Wood, and the USA is telling you to kill Kenyans, but the Kenyans are crying, the blood of Kenyans will remain in your hands. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I oppose.
Naomi Wako.
I have the mics. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to add my voice to this very important debate on Finance Bill 2024-2025. And from the onset, I confirm that I support and also congratulate the committee led by Kimani, as he has done very well together with his committee, and also having gone through the report. I congratulate the committee because they have put into consideration the many concerns that Kenyans have brought through public participation. As I say that, Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate that our young people have been on the streets for the last few days, and some of them have gone through challenges because of that. Others have been injured, and that is just because somebody somewhere is spreading lies, talking a lot of lies to the nation and misleading the nation. It is unfortunate that today we are here debating on finance bill and also telling Kenyans how that finance bill will help us to facilitate the budget that we passed last week. Honorable Speaker, I have been visiting some of the ministries, and anytime you go to the Ministry of Transport, you go to Health, and you go to different ministries, you find our honorable members, colleagues, waiting to be served and demanding for projects to be taken to their constituencies. And unfortunately today, they are here fighting the methods of financing our budget and supporting the budgets they have been pushing for. When some of us are here in the House and debating and trying to push the agenda for the government, they are moving from one place to the other, looking for opportunities to do businesses in the ministries and with the Kenyans, and today they are here fighting and misleading Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, the most important thing that we can do today, it is to help our government to be self-reliant. And by doing that, we will be able to reduce the dependence on foreign assistance, the finances that we receive from there. When we took over this government, it is quite clear that the economy was very bad. But today, we are not there. Honorable Speaker, I support this finance bill because for the first time, you remember very well that pastoralists lost their livestock, 80% of our livestock. And for the first time, 1 billion has been put in the budget, which this finance bill will support. For the first time, the school feeding program has been well catered for. For the first time, the teachers, 20,000 teachers will be added, and again, after employing 50,000 teachers. Honorable Speaker, the government is quite focused, and that is why, and listening to the people, we have that listening here. The government has been listening through public participation, and that is why today we are saying 16% VAT on bread has been removed. VAT on transport, on sugar, and has been removed. And no increase on mobile money transfer. It remains 15%. And these are some of the things that activists keep cheating people and spreading lies and making our young people to go on the street. My advice to people is, let us support this and see the fruits, because By passing false information to people, we will not help them. But by passing this, then we'll be able to support our budget and facilitate different ministries so that we can bring the transformation that we want. I fully support, and let us make sure that Kenya is self-reliant. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Susan Kiamba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance to also contribute to this very important bill. First and foremost, I think it's prudent for Kenya to compare itself with our neighbors in terms of the tax rate. But I think it is evident that as we compare ourselves with other peoples in the region who are taxing their people much more than us, we have to look at the local context where our Kenyans are. Kenyans now are economically at their knees, very vulnerable. And anybody attempting to add anything on top of the suffering Kenyans, it will not actually do justice. So I think it is very dishonest for us to compare ourselves or to get input from international financiers and imagine that Kenya is in the same situation. It's important to realize that since COVID-19, the economy of Kenya has not picked up. And having to tax Kenyans higher than that is making them not only vulnerable, but actually not being in a position to survive. Secondly, this debt we have been talking about, everybody says we are taxing them because we have to pay our debt. And I say, right, we have to pay our debt. But this debt has been acquired over a period of 61 years. You cannot acquire debt in 61 years and you want to do away with the debt in 2 years. That means overburdening the people. We have to be strategic in dealing with the debt. We are not dying tomorrow as Kenyans. We need to pay the debt in a manner that enables our people to continue to grow. So when I hear this passion of wanting to tax Kenyans so that we pay a debt, we need to recognize that this debt is very old. And we need to be strategic and then deal with the debt for the next 5-7 years. And that way will allow our Kenyans to survive. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, it is very shocking, even since Finance Bill 2023, we are borrowing money to do reproductive activities. We say we are poor, we need money. But the little money we get, we go and put in housing. We go and put in health care. While I accept these valuable things, but you cannot have the few coins you have, instead of putting them in something productive, you put the small coins in a dead hole. When you build a house, when will it generate income so that we collect taxes? I think we need to sit down and have a finance bill that is strategic, enabling, and can take Kenya forward. We cannot have a finance bill where the little money we have, we are actually putting them in a hole. When we go and build everybody a house, it is a good thing, but is it right for us now? The small money we have, we must put it in a reproductive activity. And I do not see anything like that in this finance bill. Honorable Speaker, I think when we did Finance Bill 2023, Kenyans had very many problems. The Finance Bill 23, we have not even seen the fruits. People are still in burden. They are still overburdened. We've never seen the fruits. I think it is prudent. I think it is prudent to wait for the interventions we did, to wait and see where the kind of fruits we are getting, so that the finance bills are progressive, building from each other. We should not just be very passionate of collecting taxes without enabling the Kenyans to grow. Let's look like some of the investment. One of the very strategic projects in Finance Bill 2023 was the Hustler Fund. Where are we in Hustler Fund?
Nowhere.
Getting money, putting in horse, and then you ask Kenyans to give more money. From where? You cannot milk a cow that is eating nothing. Amen. We need the Kenyan citizen to be fed with something to promote the economy so as to milk. How do you milk a dead cow? The Kenyan citizen is dead. We need interventions that enable the Kenyan person to thrive. So I think it doesn't make any sense to think of taxing the Kenyan when they are actually a dead cow.
Order, Kiamba, there's a point
Honorable
of order.
Speaker.
Order, there's a point of order. Yes, Wanjiku Muya. What is your point of order and what standing order? Give her the mic.
Honorable Speaker, I'm standing on point of order number 91. Is the member in order to state to the House and mislead the nation that there is no hustler fund? Can she substantiate? And secondly, for the member to say that there is no fruits and she is even earning the salary herself. And CDF.
Kiamba, your time is up. Your time is up. John Paul Mwirigi. Your time is up. John Paul Mwirigi.
Check. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise also to contribute on this motion, on this bill, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Kenyan citizens, Madam Speaker, sent us to this house, Madam Speaker, to thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I rise to contribute on this bill. And Madam Speaker, this bill has come on the right, at the right time, Madam Speaker. I remember 2 weeks ago, Madam Speaker, we were in this house when we were passing the budget, Madam Speaker. And this finance bill, Madam Speaker, is targeting, Madam Speaker, to fund the budget which we passed in this house, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Kenyans have been fed with lies, Madam Speaker, that there are some taxes which have been introduced, Madam Speaker, which will harm them, Madam Speaker. But I rise to inform them that the tax which they are being informed that for the brand, Madam Speaker, the vehicle tax, the cooking oil, Madam Speaker, the M-Pesa, Madam Speaker. Yesterday, Madam Speaker, we stood and said that the Kenyans have sent us, Madam Speaker, and all of these were dropped, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this finance bill, Madam Speaker, is targeting to improve the economy of this country, Madam Speaker, whereby the contribution which will be made or the taxes which will be collected through this finance bill, Madam Speaker, will help to improve the infrastructure of this country, Madam Speaker. I am a happy member of Parliament, Madam Speaker, because my constituency, Mr. Speaker, will benefit with 50 million, Madam Speaker, to electrify, Madam Speaker, my villages within this constituency of Igembe South, Madam Speaker. Number 2, Madam Speaker, my NGCDF, Madam Speaker, is going to be earned with 10 billion, Madam Speaker, whereby at least I will receive more than 30 million, Madam Speaker, on top of what I normally receive annually, Madam Speaker. These funds also will help me, Madam Speaker, to do more work for my people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am a happy person since most of my farmers, Madam Speaker, they normally farm, but their produce, Madam Speaker, does not reach the market, Madam Speaker. This is because most of the people have invested in importing things from outside, Madam Speaker. But through the imposition of tax from those imported goods, Madam Speaker, this will see that the farmers, Madam Speaker, who normally farm canola and sunflower, Madam Speaker, will have
a better market within the country, Madam Speaker, since the cooking or the honorable oil, Madam Speaker, from within will be used to improve our industries, Madam Speaker. Also, Madam Speaker, on the poultry farming, Madam Speaker, my farmers, because most of them, Madam Speaker, normally farm poultry, Madam Speaker, the imposition of tax on the imported eggs, Madam Speaker, will see them access the market well, since the internally produced eggs, Madam Speaker, will be readily available in the market, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also I am a happy person since when during the weekend, Madam Speaker, most of my people sent me to reject, Madam Speaker, the imposition of the tax on the brand, Madam Speaker. And I would like to inform them that, Madam Speaker, this tax is not there, Madam Speaker. With all those, Madam Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Bamachoge Borobu, Honorable Obadia Birongo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for affording me the opportunity to address this House. I was going to address the issue of the proposal by the government to increase the RML from 18 to 25, but thankfully the chairperson for the Committee for Finance and National Planning actually said that there is no such thing in the bill. Because of that, I am going to switch my attention to the events of yesterday. Madam Speaker, yesterday our adoring Generation Z woke the government from deep slumber. Our very audacious Generation Z decided that they are going to make their voices heard. Madam Speaker, I thought of words to be able to salute them on X, but my words failed me. Madam Speaker, I was wondering, since I didn't do them justice on X yesterday, and this is the point at which I want to ask for the attention of every member here, because this generation is our future. And as I thought about what we usually do when the visitors of our speaker seated in the speaker's gallery are accorded, I cannot help to note that the speaker actually beams with happiness whenever we acknowledge her visitors in the speaker's gallery. It is in the same vein that I wanted all of us, in saluting what Action Gen Z did yesterday, and noting that, Madam Speaker, that Gen Z actually represent the best of our country, and that yesterday they were only exercising what is very clearly in our Constitution, Article 1.
Yes, you may proceed, because I hear it's your maiden speech. So.
Now, thank you so much. And so, in honor of Gen Z action yesterday, I wanted to ask all of us to stamp our feet in recognition of what they did yesterday, because it was all constitutional. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Githunguri.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to give my contribution on the finance bill proposal, which has been tabled in this House. Madam Speaker, for a long time, finance bill has not been a subject of discussion in this country. But for the last 1.5 years, Kenyans have awakened to the issues that are there in finance bill and have made it a public discussion. Madam Speaker, I had attempted to speak earlier on in the floor because I am a user of sanitary towels. And as a user, as a mother, as a woman leader, I am greatly concerned that the price of sanitary towels and diapers is not only going to affect the mothers and the users of those items, but is going to affect the budget of individual homes. I have interrogated the proposal of the finance bill very deeply, Madam Speaker, and I've realized that there are promises flying around. The excise duty that was proposed on sanitary towels and diapers has been removed. Or rather, there is a recommendation from the Committee of Finance to remove excise duty on imported sanitary towels and diapers. However, Madam Speaker, the raw materials that are being used by local manufacturers are subjected to VAT. And if those raw materials are going to continue being subjected to VAT, the manufacturers will have no choice but to pass the cost of that VAT to the users. And therefore, Madam Speaker, if we do not remove VAT on raw materials that are making sanitary towels in Kenya for local manufacturers, we are still going to have expensive sanitary towels and diapers. Madam Speaker, currently there are children who do not go to school when they are on menses because they cannot afford sanitary towels. If we add extra price on cost of sanitary towels, we are going to deter lives of many girls who can become powerful women in this country. Madam Speaker, in the spirit of making laws, we cannot make laws to obscure other laws. I have gone through the finance bill proposal and have noted that there are various proposals that have been put in the finance proposal that are going to deter us from implementing the laws we have made previously in this House. Madam Speaker, in the respect of that, I note that we have agreed a proposal to amend the Data Protection Act. Data Protection Act of 2019 is a law that we made in the previous parliament to protect our personal data. I know members of this House, I included, have received numerous messages from members of public. Where they got our numbers from, I don't know. Whereas we cannot blame them because maybe they are operating from a situation of pressure. It is against the law to share members' numbers. As they do that, Madam Speaker, we are protected by the law. What about if we allow us to amend that law and allow anybody to access our personal data, including financial data? And therefore, Madam Speaker, I am of the opinion that we must be very careful so that you don't make laws that are going to make other laws not operational. Madam Speaker, I represent farmers. And I would have been very excited to hear that just like we have given VAT exemption to the transportation of sugarcane, which I am happy about, we also provide the same provision for the farmers who transport milk, who transport avocados, who transport macadamia, tea leaves, and coffee. Madam Speaker, I understand that we want to make sure that we lower the cost of operation for sugar millers so that they can lower the cost of final product to us, which is sugar that we consume in our tea. But we also consume milk, and we also want to lower the cost of production of milk so that we can have affordable a cup of tea. And therefore, I would request this House to consider to also provide and extend the same treatment to my farmers in Githunguri. With those very many remarks that I have made and I have observed, I am still not convinced that I should support.
The Honourable Member for Homa Bay. The Honorable Member for Homa Bay.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also debate and make contributions on this finance bill. Madam Speaker, I rise to, from the beginning, I say that I reject this finance bill. Madam Speaker, the reason as to why I'm saying I'm rejecting the finance bill, not just rejecting partially, but in totality. Because, Madam Speaker, this is a finance bill that from the onset, there is always increased taxation, item by item, detail by detail, up to the end. I want to say, Madam Speaker, because I recognize that we were advised by the Honorable Speaker Wetangula that we can present our contributions based on linkages, based on our opinions, based on the budget, and based on the finance bill that is current on the table. Madam Speaker, I want to say that as Kenyans, first and foremost, we were disappointed with the presentation that was given by the PS Treasury. Madam Speaker, I want to say that Kenyans keenly listened to how revenue was going to be generated to fix what is proposed in the budget. Madam Speaker, I want to say that Kenyans were left shocked because what was proposed, one of the things was we raised revenue because we want to sort out our pending bills. Madam Speaker, it is on the floor of this House that we were told that we have to wait for consolidation of the pending bills in this country by October. For that reason, Madam Speaker, I reject even the reason as to why we are increasing the taxes so that we can foot our pending bills. Madam Speaker, I want to say that this House, the leaders must rise up and support. And I want to ride on the presentation by MP Honorable Sylvia, who said that personally she does not understand what a finance bill is. I want to say that even yesterday we know that our colleagues were invited at State House. I thought they were going to make meaningful contributions, Madam Speaker, and give contribution as to why they think they are under siege in the respective constituencies where they come from. Madam Speaker, I want to register in this House that we share as colleagues, but the kind of issues that we are saying that we are relying, the Azimio of this other side of the opposition is relying on social media. Why did they choose to act, Madam Speaker, on the social media by telling us along the corridors that all the things you were arguing about, we have dropped? Madam Speaker, that was bread issue. Madam Speaker, the taxation of the motorcycle, which means they are also conflicting and contradicting what they are saying, Madam Speaker. Why did they also choose to act on the issues of social media? Why did they choose to respond to the Fourth Estate? Madam Speaker, I want to say that public participation needs to be redefined in this House. Yesterday, when we watched over the television, Madam Speaker, I saw a desperate minority whip. That is, I saw a desperate Honorable Whip Osoro, where he was very desperate of trying to convince Kenyans and deeply thinking on how taxation on bread has been dropped, on how taxation of motorcycles have been dropped. I saw a desperate and so much a person who is under pressure. Madam Speaker, I want to say that we must stand firm on the floor of this House and rise beyond numbers. Issues of numbers does not arise when we are talking about finance bill. Madam Speaker, I want to say that finance bill 2023 can equally be applicable on this budget that we want to appropriate. Madam Speaker, I want to say that there must be progression on how we generate our taxes. Madam Speaker, private sectors, I wish you gave me 1 more minute, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have valid points. Kindly, I'm requesting for 1 minute, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much. Being a woman speaker, you know very well the problems we have. I've transversed in these industries. Private sectors are key. If they migrate from this country, we must take care of their interests. When we talk about zero rating, we go to standard rating. We are talking of exempt. The final sufferers are consumers. President Yoweri Museveni said that Kenyans Kenyans must learn to produce and manufacture their raw materials. Where is this in finance bill?
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Alego Usonga, Honorable Samuel Atandi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to make a few observations. Madam Speaker, the anchor document that the finance bill draws its contents and which we passed in this House is known as budget strategy paper, medium-term budget strategy paper. Madam Speaker, that document, if you look at it, it is anchored on two important principles. The first principle is that the budget document needs to be predictable. The budget document needs to be predictable. The finance bill needs to be predictable. It also needs to be certain. The reason why this is anchored in this document is because, Madam Speaker, investors and businessmen, when they want to do business in a country, they must be certain that the tax laws that will prevail are long-term and that they are able to allow them to plan their businesses. Madam Speaker, before I joined Parliament, I used to work in the banking sector. And Madam Speaker, we could engage business people and we help them to draw strategies for business. One of the things that we look for when we are doing this, Madam Speaker, is that how will the tax environment obtain in the next 2, 3, 4 years? Madam Speaker, if you look at this tax bill, if you look at this finance bill, Madam Speaker, we just did finance bill last year. And even before the businesses take advantage of the finance bill which we enacted, the incentives which we provided, shortly we have a new finance bill which is overturning those benefits. Madam Speaker, this is the reason why, Madam Speaker, I want to oppose this finance bill, because it is taking away the benefits that we gave to businessmen just the other day and taking them away. Madam Speaker, for instance, a tax like import declaration fee. In the last finance bill, we had lowered this tax because we realized that there are so many raw materials which our companies need, our industries need, which we must import. Now, in this finance bill, that tax has been raised by 1%. Honorable Speaker, this is going to hurt the manufacturing sector. I have heard many members claim that this finance bill is good for manufacturing sector. It is not, because the raw materials which we are going to rely on to produce, and this country does not produce a lot of raw materials, we are going to import them at a high fee. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, there are some taxes that have been introduced, such as VAT on financial services. Honorable Speaker, only 14% of Kenyans are enjoying banking services. In most African countries and developed countries, you find that about 50% of citizens are enjoying banking services. Now, if we introduce 16% VAT on financial services, Honorable Speaker, you are telling many Kenyans not to enjoy banking services. This is going to be a serious drawback in our campaign to have many Kenyans get banked. But Honorable Speaker, this also applies to the new tax which we are introducing on mobile money transfer. Honorable Speaker, there's a tendency for this House to continue to tax money transfer services. Last year, the excise tax on money transfer services was 15%. We are trying to raise it to 20%. Honorable Speaker, we need to realize that just sending money is not really production. So if we continue to tax people because they are using money, mobile transfer services, it is very unfair. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, one of the reasons why we do not meet our tax targets is because of something we call taxpayer morale. Honorable Speaker, the reason why somebody will willingly pay tax is because if their morale is boosted. This bill does not boost taxpayer morale, and I foresee a situation where taxpayers will refuse to pay their taxes. And this is happening, Honorable Speaker. If you go to KRA, the officers in KRA are merely collecting bribes because taxpayers are refusing to pay tax. They rather keep the tax, and when officers of KRA go, they bribe them. So, Honorable Speaker, we need to have a tax regime that promotes taxpayers to have morale so that they can willingly pay tax. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, I oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Atandi. Mary Masse. Honorable members, if you have spoken, please log out. Oundo, you have spoken, you are still on the screen. Otienda Mola has spoken, is still on the screen. You block other members from appearing on the screen. You've logged out now, thank you. Mary Masse.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I've been queuing since morning. I thought you had forgotten that I'm here. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to appreciate the chairman of the Finance Committee, Kimani Kuria, and his entire team for a meticulous job. The manner in which you have handled the making of the finance bill is indeed commendable. Having said that, Honorable Speaker, Article 221 of the Constitution and Section 39(2) of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 4 and 2, and Standing Order 235, subsection 5, provided for the execution of the estimates of revenue and expenditure, and underline revenue. Honorable Speaker, this process is not complete until the passage of the appropriations bill. And the passage of the appropriations bill is not possible without the execution of the finance bill. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, it's against that backdrop that we are discussing the finance bill, which speaks to the revenue-raising measures, without which we shall have no budget. What we adopted are just estimates. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to commend the Finance Committee because they followed the due process. Once the proposals on the finance bill were submitted to this House and committed to the Finance Committee, they had to subject the finance bill proposals from National Treasury to public participation. And therefore, to hear colleagues allege that why has government now decided to bring amendments this late, or to demystify the notion that the Finance Committee were pressurized. Honorable Speaker, the Finance Committee had to listen to Kenyans, get the views of the Kenyans before recommending amendments to the finance bill. Honorable Speaker, we are here as representatives of the people. We are the watchdog. We are the ones to oversight the executive. That is why when the executive proposes anything, it cannot just be passed. There is a committee that does the scrutiny, the review, they have to discuss, they have to do public participation, then make recommendations to amend and bring to this House for all of us to adopt. They do that on our behalf. So, Honorable Speaker, I know it's been a difficult time, not just for Kuria and his team, but the entire House. We have received threats, blackmail, attacks on social media. Reject the bill. Reject the bill. And I want to ask one question here, Honorable Speaker. Allow me use an analogy of a bag of banana or a bag of potatoes. If you have a bag of potatoes and there are 10 or 15 rotten potatoes in that bag, are you going to throw away the whole bag of potatoes because of the 15 rotten ones? Or you are going to remove the 15 rotten ones and throw them away and carry the rest of the bag to the kitchen and prepare a delicious meal? Honorable Speaker, I am here to represent the people of Teso South. They have given me the mandate to represent them. They have needs. So I will support the bill as amended. The committee has removed 2.5 tax on motor vehicles. The committee has removed 16% on edible oil. The committee has removed some of the most contentious
proposals that Kenyans did not agree with. They are proposing to remove, and we will be passing them during
Yes,
the time.
hold on, Emase. Irene Mayaka, what is the problem?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is something that I've just noted from my senior, who I respect a lot, and other members. We are not talking about the bill as amended. The bill has not yet been amended. It is the report that is introducing amendments to the bill. So we need to be very clear on that particular fact so that we do not mislead Kenyans.
She's actually not out of order because I heard her say the committee has proposed.
But
What did she say? No, no order.
Yeah.
If that's what you said, Mary, you're out of order. No bill has been amended, but there's a proposal from the committee to amend the bill. So you have two documents. The bill as is, the committee report with various proposals, including those amendments. So if you want to talk about changes in the bill, talk of proposals, because we have no amendments yet.
Honorable Speaker, I mean proposed amendments that the committee has recommended as per this report. And Honorable Speaker, allow me point to one. Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying that the committee has made proposed amendments to the finance bill. The way it was originally, I want to agree with Kenyans, there were proposals that were contagious that we must deal away with. So I will support with the proposed amendments, and in particular, I want to respond to one proposed a VAT on financial services, on internet, which was going to affect especially the Gen Zs that you're talking about, the hustlers who are the students in universities. The proposal to remove that, to delete that proposed tax is indeed commendable.
Dr. James Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate.
Order, Nguna, what is the problem?
Mr. Speaker.
CNN, what is the problem? Hold on, Nyikal. Yes, CNN.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes.
I've been here since 9:30. And from the screen, it is clear I'm the one who is supposed to speak after Mary Emase. But anyway, let me be
Take
patient.
your seat.
I hope I'll be the next.
Take your seat. The discretion remains the chair, but let me also tell you, if there's a member who sits here longer than any other, it's Dr. Nyikal.
BBC will...
He sits here from the beginning. The speaker finds him here. The speaker leaves him here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose the Finance Bill 2024. Mr. Speaker, this has been the most canvassed bill since I came to this parliament. It has been canvassed, and the committee has met with professional organizations, it has met with churches, it has met with civil society, it has met with students, and all of them are unanimous that they don't like the bill as it is, and have proposed that we reject the bill. And Mr. Speaker, you have seen even yesterday, in just anticipation that the bill will be discussed, the demonstration, the picketing that was in this town. And Mr. Speaker, this time the people who are picketing, if you looked at them, are very well educated people. If you listen to what they're saying, people may be thinking that they were mobilized through social media and so on. But those people have read this bill and they know what is the bill. I dare say some of them may have read this bill better than us. And Mr. Speaker, the reason people are up against, the people of Kenya are up against this bill is we had a bill last year which actually people are suffering from. Now we bring another finance bill. They are still suffering and they have looked through this one and they do not see hope. We represent the people of this country. And why is it that they're reacting like that? Mr. Speaker, if you look at this bill and the clauses that they didn't like, I'll come to the report later. Look at the motor vehicle levy or tax. It is illegal. They know it. An asset is not an income. It is there. And when you do that, all people suffer, not just the people who own vehicles, because it will include transport vehicles. If you look at tax on digital market, and that I think is why the young people are out. They have no jobs. These are educated people, and they're using the digital marketplace to actually earn a living. TikTok, content creation, and so on. We have even ourselves put hubs in our constituencies, and the Minister of ICT is putting hubs and encouraging these young people to actually use them. We are now levying tax on that, and we do not have jobs for them. If you look at the VAT on bread, it's never been heard of. We're bringing it in. Who are we affecting? The ordinary person. Bread is a staple food. Mr. Speaker, if you look at VAT on vegetable oil, when started some months back, we had a big problem with the price of oil. Again, we are now putting tax back. When the prices are just starting to come down, we are putting it. If you put money on mobile phones, everybody uses a mobile phone, even children who are going to school. Mr. Speaker. So people feel that the government as we have now is against the people. And that is why we are having this problem. Look at the eco levy in clause 45 and 48. What is it touching? Diapers, pads, tires, of motor vehicles, bicycles, motorbikes, and so on. Again, touching the ordinary people. I know that with the 150 that we put now, we are saying it is basically just going to be on imported products that where it is used. So people have rioted because they don't like this thing. If you look at the fuel levy, which was not even in there, but now it has been brought in, we are proposing about 7 shillings on top of what is happening now. You do that, everybody is actually touched. The housing levy, we amend the bill that was actually assuring the people who have contributed the money to actually make it open to everybody. The people feel, we don't like this levy, we thought we'd get the houses, now everybody.
Jos Lelemengit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I would like to be in agreement and also join hands with the other colleagues in supporting this bill. This bill has a big win for Kenyans. Generally, it seeks additional revenue that is necessary to alleviate poverty and to deliver public services like roads, electricity, on health. These are all services to improve on and better lives of people, Mr. Speaker. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to increase the disposable incomes for millions of Kenyans that are employed. And I want to say this, Mr. Speaker. This bill, the deductions of NHIF on housing levy are done on gross salaries, and note the pay is done after the deductions on NHIF and also the deductions on house levy. For example, your Honorable Speaker, I've done calculations. Any salaried Kenyan earning 50,000 shillings. Right now, his net pay is around 49,000 shillings. But with this new finance bill, Mr. Speaker, the same Kenyan who is earning a gross salary of 50,000 shillings is going home with around 42,000 shillings. So there is an additional almost 3,000 shillings, Mr. Speaker. And this is for all the salaried employees in Kenya. So I want to be in agreement with the chair and the team who came up with this proposal of the finance bill that this finance bill is putting more money in the pockets of employed Kenyans. That is about 13 million Kenyans who are employed both in government and the private sector, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I want in the common principles of commerce, high school commerce, and I want to mention this for Honorable Babu Owino and Selassie and Honorable Junet, because they think alike and opposing this bill. It dictates that you have to put tax levies on importation so that we can give room to the local industries to spur in those economic growth.
Yes, Honorable Selassie, what's the problem?
Yes, sir.
Take your seat. Give Selassie the mic. Give him, there you are, give him the mic.
Okay, I'm here, right? I've never stood on the point of order, but let me try to speak on point of order. That one is point of order number 91. Okay. I'm so much disappointed with Honorable Elmengid by saying that
Standing Order 31 deals with adjournment of the House.
91, yes.
So it can't be the one on which you are standing.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm standing on point of order.
Yes.
Order number 91, yes. I'm getting used to these things, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes.
So I'm so much surprised that out of all these members of parliament, that Engineer Elmengid is mentioning my name and asking me that I'm opposing the bill without even me listening to me giving facts the way I want to give my facts in the next 5 minutes to come. Immediately the speaker is going to mention my name. Thank you, Mr.
Okay. Lelmengi, to be fair to Selassie, he has not spoken on this
Thank
bill
you,
yet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I was waking up Selassie. I saw him, he was asleep. Okay. And again, Mr. Speaker, I've seen several members opposing this bill, and particularly on the assembled motorcycles that are imported. Those are the motorcycles that 3% of the levies have been put on the imported motorcycles. But the locally assembled and locally manufactured, there's no tax levies on those motorcycles. This will spur the economic growth and also enable these companies, will give room these companies to employ more youth in assembling these motorcycles within this country. Again, Mr. Speaker, I would love to buy diapers for my babies from the locally produced ones in Kenya. There is no problem for Honorable Junet creating a company like Junet Diapers Company Limited. I would be happy to buy those diapers from his factory. So I want to encourage every member who is opposing this bill I want to urge all members opposing this bill to also join hands with us so that we can accept the amendments and the proposed bill that we have for 2024-2025 financial year. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the only problem that we are fighting in this country and in this finance bill is the negative connotations and statements propagated by the opposition. Numbers don't lie. For the last 1 year, Mr. Speaker, on the economy, inflation has dropped from 9% to around 5%. The dollar, Mr. Speaker, in relation to Kenyan shilling, has dropped from 165 shilling to 130, up thereabout. Farmers are happy, Mr. Speaker, for the subsidized fertilizer. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the teachers who are interns for the last 1.5 years will get a chance to be employed permanent and pensionable, which is a big win for our institutions back home, the high schools, the day schools that don't have teachers. So, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, what's your point of order? There's nobody on the floor. Umulher? Give her the mic. What's the point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to interject him, but he's not on the floor.
He's not on the floor, so it is spent. Thank you.
Okay.
I give the floor to Elachi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to oppose this Finance Act of 2024 with reasons, Mr. Speaker. And I'll start, Mr. Speaker. When government came into place, Mr. Speaker, we started by removing subsidies and saying that this will assist Kenyans now to move on as a country. Mr. Speaker, we came in, we decided to ensure that the first finance bill, we had so many issues. We thought this second finance bill, Mr. Speaker, will be a finance bill that brings Kenyans together. And today, what the government has done to us, the Economic Council decided to put Kenya again into crossroads, to make us fight for nothing. And then after that, then you come and now start saying we shall be having amendments. Yet this is something we would have just thought from the beginning, Mr. Speaker, that we don't need a country to go on to a cry and then now come again and tell them that there is an incentive that now we are giving. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the report comes in, and this is an IMF finance bill. This is what they did to Ghana. Mr. Speaker, you remember very well when Kibaki came into government, he was a finance minister, but he decided to be a liberal economist. He decided to look east. It is so sad that while my president thinks he will build any road in this country, that he will do any infrastructure in this country with IMF on his neck, this will not happen on this term. Not on this term. He will be there to do the deficits of what they are telling him, but in terms of building Kenya, we shall see the worst that we have never seen. Mr. Speaker, the bill then comes in and tells us you want to restore policy on debt, sustainability, whatever. But then you forget that you are the same person who is saying you need everything on items. Fine, you have said you have reduced it for Mama Mboga, I don't know for who. But you are forgetting the same person who can do business beyond 2 million is the same person you have just returned into the challenges we are saying. Try to build an economic base for Kenyans to have this thing we are calling that there is economic growth. Then you come and tell me you have now reduced to the local manufacturers. Who are the deaf keys and the who's and who's? One person monopolizing this country, that he's the only one who can bring clinker, he's the only one who can do cement, he's the only one, yet you want to say, today we cannot bring back Portland, today we cannot do this. It is wrong. We only have one man who does pasta in this country. So when you say now you are increasing because people are exporting in spaghettis, they're importing in spaghettis. We only have one local manufacturer who does pasta, who decides at every given time how he raises his prices. So how do you deal with those people? Tell us the numbers of manufacturers we have.
Order.
So that Kenyans can know,
Order,
Mr.
Elachi.
Speaker.
Yes, Nyakundi, what's your point of order? Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm standing on point of order number 91. Is it in order for the honorable member to say that the president is dictated by IMF on the finance bill, while the president has the mind of his own? It is this house that dictates the finance bill and the orders that we make. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
If you had the mind, we would have gone to the president after we have finished this. So, Mr. Speaker, what we are saying that it is time as Kenyans, we want to take back our power from the World Bank, from IMF, and we are begging so hard that the president must go back and look at the East so that we can finish our roads. You went to the US, you told us you are bringing a road that is headed to Mombasa.
Order, Elachi. The World Bank does not vote in this house. It is you who will vote in this house.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Rindikiri.
Understanding Order 91, I expect I respect very much to bring in point of relevance. Mr. Speaker, we are not debating the performance and activities of the President. We are discussing the matters of finance bill, and I expect her as such to react. Mr. Speaker, this is where we are losing it because there are some who are praying for the gallery. We better stop this kind of approach to this finance bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chalachi, the World Bank has no vote in this house. It's you who will vote. So remain relevant.
Mr. Speaker, while I say and what I say is that when you look at all the policies that has eaten the countries of Ghana, countries of Zambia, these are the same policies that they went through when they were handling the IMF. So, Mr. Speaker, it's not about voting, but it is about just asking ourselves, what track have we taken ourselves in? I beg not to support.
Thank you. Come, Kate. Wamawa, I don't see you on this screen. Come, Kate.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, from the outset, I want to say that I stand to support the bill. And in supporting this bill, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I fully associate myself with the views and the recommendations of the Committee on Finance and National Planning. The committee, Mr. Speaker, has done a wonderful job in analyzing the bill and in listening to Kenyans. When this bill was published for the first time, Mr. Speaker, I got concerned as every other Kenyan. But I got, Mr. Speaker, I got the confidence, Mr. Speaker, because I know, Mr. Speaker, that Kenya is a working democracy. That the process of legislative, the passing of legislation is a process, Mr. Speaker. That the bill would go to the Committee on Finance and National Planning, that the bill would be subjected to public participation, and that the views of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, would be collected, and that the committee would come up with the proper recommendations, having listened to the people of Kenya. And the committee has done that, Mr. Speaker. This committee, Mr. Speaker, represents Parliament. The Committee on Finance and National Planning is a committee that is made up of members across the aisle. It is not a committee, Mr. Speaker, of members of one side of the House. And their report, therefore, the report which has no dissenting view, represents the views of this Parliament. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the members, all of them, from both sides of the House, that they have done a good job. I want to, Mr. Speaker, the Treasury is made up of Kenyans, and they are mandated, Mr. Speaker, at every financial year to come up with revenue raising measures to support the budget. And they are free, Mr. Speaker, to be innovative. Those officers at the Treasury, Mr. Speaker, are free to come up with wild ideas. But that is why Parliament is here. Because the officers at the Treasury, I do not see why the hysteria. Why there was hysteria? Why would a member of Parliament be joining, Mr. Speaker, members of the public in demonstrating in the streets when his opportunity is here. When the opportunity is here now, and then when they are given the chance, Mr. Speaker, they come and speak about revolutions that are non-existent. This is the time to talk about, to debate this bill and to look at the recommendations of the committee as they have made. Mr. Speaker, the governments exist to levy taxes, Mr. Speaker. And it is Parliament's responsibility to check on the executive. And that is exactly what we are doing. Mr. Speaker, you know, when the orange button comes up, Mr. Speaker, and the points are coming, I do not know what is, we begin to panic. Mr. Speaker, let me just say this, Mr. Speaker. This morning, I listened to the leader of minority opposing the bill. But I looked at him, Mr. Speaker, and I could see his opposition to the bill was nothing but hollow, dishonest, and shallow. Because, Mr. Speaker, if the public have given their views, Mr. Speaker, and I challenge, Mr. Speaker,
Your time is up. Your order. Member for Malindi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mwanzo ningechukua fursa hii Mheshimiwa Spika kuweza kuwashukuru wa Kenya. Nimeona wenzangu wengi wamesimama hapa na kusema tushukuru wale watu ama ambao wako katika kamati ya mswada wa fedha, lakini mimi nasimama hapa Mheshimiwa Spika kushukuru wa Kenya. Wa Kenya kwa mara ya kwanza tumeweza kuona nguvu yao, tumeweza kuona umoja wao, na tumeweza kuona kwamba tunapoungana na tukisema no kwa jambo, tukikatalia jambo, hilo ndivyo ambavyo linakwenda kupita Mheshimiwa Spika. Jambo la kwanza Mheshimiwa Spika ni ushirika wa umma. Mwanzo nimesimama hapa na pinga vikali huu mswada wa fedha ambao umeweza kuwakilishwa hapa mbele yetu Mheshimiwa Spika. Watu wangu wa Malindi Mheshimiwa Spika wamepinga vikali masuala ya kuongezwa ushuru katika mambo ya mkate, katika mambo ya pampers, katika mambo ya sanitary pads. Watu wangu wa Malindi tayari ile hali ya maisha ilivyo ngumu, wanasema kwamba hawataki tena kuona ushuru wa aina yoyote uweze kuongezewa hapa Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi Waswahili tuna msemo wa kusema unapopatiwa chakula kukula, unakula kile chakula paka unasahau unataka pia kula ile sahani. Tulipokuwa tunajadili mswada wetu wa fedha wa mwaka 2023, kulikuwa kuna mambo mengi ambayo sisi tumeyakataa Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini mambo yakapita vile ambavyo yalipita. Na kwangu mimi ninavyoona Mheshimiwa Spika, pia huu mswada kulikuwa kunataka kupitishwa mambo mengi zaidi, lakini safari hii wa Kenya walikuwa chonjo na wakaweka miguu yao chini na kukataa ule udhalimu ambao ulikuwa unakwenda kutendeka Mheshimiwa Spika. Ningeweza kusisitiza kwa wananchi wetu wa Kenya nzima kwamba tunapokuwa na ushiriki wa umma ama kwa kizungu ambayo inaitwa public participation, naomba Wakenya wajitokeze kwa wingi, waweze kusikizwa, waweze kueleweka na waweze kutoa maoni yao kuhusu masuala tofauti ambayo yanaendelea katika bunge la kitaifa, katika masuala ya miradi ya kitaifa, miradi ya kaunti na mengineyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, kabla hatujazungumza kuhusu huu mswada ambao tunaujadili saizi, tunataka pia tuangalie ule mswada wetu wa mwaka wa 2023. Ni kwamba uliweza kutusaidia vipi sisi kama Wakenya? Tunafaa tujiulize gharama ya maisha, je, ilikwenda kubadilika? Tunafaa tujiulize mazingira ya kazi, je, yalikuwa ni mazuri kwa watu wetu? Tunafaa tujiulize imetusaidia vipi na imeweza kutufikisha wapi? Malengo yetu, budget yetu ya ile pesa kama tumeweza kuifikia ama la? Mheshimiwa Spika, tuliona kuna vitu ambavyo tuliweza kupitisha wakati ule, ikiwemo masuala ya Hustler Fund, masuala ya housing levy. Tunataka pia tujue report pesa hizo, mambo hayo, malengo hayo tumeweza kuyafikia ama hatujaweza kuyafikia Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa kumalizia Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ninavyoelewa Wakenya hawana shida na kulipa ushuru. Uchungu wa Wakenya saizi tunazungumza kuhusu budget ya zaidi ya trilioni 3. Matumizi ya hizi pesa, Mheshimiwa Spika, ndiyo matatizo makubwa, na ndio maana tumeona vijana wetu, watoto wadogo wamekwenda barabarani kufanya maandamano, Mheshimiwa Spika. Matatizo ambayo tuko nayo sasa hivi, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni ufisadi. Na pale ambapo tunazungumza kuhusu ufisadi, kwa sababu pesa zote hizi zinatoka kwa Wakenya, bajeti yote hii sasa hizi inatoka kwa Wakenya. Tunapoona ufisadi ambao unaendelea, Mheshimiwa Spika, mawaziri wanakuja hapa, mawaziri wao ambao wana ufisadi wanaachiliwa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Hii ndio inazidi kutia machungu kwa Wakenya kule, Mheshimiwa Spika. Tunaona wale ambao wameshikana kule kwa upande wa serikali, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanaenda katika mkutano, mtu ambaye mshahara wake ni sawasawa na wangu na anatoa karibu milioni 30, na kuna kijana mwenye ambaye hana kazi na hana hata shilingi. So tunataka matumizi ya hizi pesa pia ziwe ziko sawasawa, Mheshimiwa Spika, na kwamba ufisadi uweze kumalizika hapa ndani ya Kenya, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi nataka niseme napinga vikali mswada wa fedha wa mwaka 2024, Mheshimiwa Spika. Asante sana.
Rindikiri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to associate myself with the finance bill presented by the Committee on Finance. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I support this bill because it has addressed some of the issues that I was looking for. But let me say and correct myself that the initial proposed bill, the draft bill, Mr. Speaker, and a lot of issues that are detrimental to our population and to our citizens. Mr. Speaker, that bill, as it was originally presented, will not pass the test of times. But Mr. Speaker, I've listened towards the chairman of the committee as presented, and I associate myself with those proposals that he has presented. Mr. Speaker, we passed the budget in this House. Mr. Speaker, we cannot pretend that we are disassociating ourselves with that budget now that the finance budget has come. Mr. Speaker, the finance addresses the supply part of the expenditure. Mr. Speaker, the budget addresses the expenditure. So these two are intertwined. So unless we go back and reverse the budget that we passed and say we have to suspend it so that we go back to the drawing board. Mr. Speaker, we are legislators and we cannot deceive ourselves that we don't know the truth. Mr. Speaker, the bill has met all the requirements in terms of passage and verification by the members of the public. Mr. Speaker, the public participation has brought in elements that Kenyans have been asking for. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I am satisfied that majority of the issues brought up by the members of the public have been taken care of in the proposed amendment by the committee. Mr. Speaker, we are legislators and we are going to bring more amendment. Mr. Speaker, I have noticed, Mr. Speaker, that there is a normality in the finance bill as proposed also, even by the finance committee, that we will be taxing the raw materials. Also, the local manufacturers, Mr. Speaker, will use raw materials. So we will bring an amendment on that. Mr. Speaker, I have also seen there is an introduction of a levy on the treasury bills. Mr. Speaker, we also bring amendment on that. So what I want to tell the people of Bori, because that is who I represent, we will make sure with the consultation with the finance committee, in agreement with them, we will delete those punitive clauses that are detrimental to their expectations and pass the bill because it carries more benefit to our people. Mr. Speaker, this bill has passed all the legal requirements. Mr. Speaker, the income tax law, Mr. Speaker, the VAT law, Mr. Speaker, the excess law, Mr. Speaker, the Miscellaneous and Fees Levy Law, Mr. Speaker, the Tax Procedure Act, Mr. Speaker, the Affordable Housing Levy Act, Data Protection Act, and Public Finance Management Act, and lastly, the Industrial Training Act. So, Mr. Speaker, as we sit, the bill is in compliance with the procedure of making the law. Mr. Speaker, I note that the objective of this bill is not to discourage investment. Mr. Speaker, this bill addresses how we will move the economy in the short term, mid-term, and the long term. Mr. Speaker, we are all talking about employment for our youth. Mr. Speaker, we are all talking about made in Kenya, promote Kenya. Mr. Speaker, we are saying we have to take care of our environment. Mr. Speaker, all these things are contained in this bill. What we need to be careful is that we should not trash the good thing with emotions, because that's what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker. The people of Bore expect development. The people of Bore expect water. The people of Bore expect electricity. The people of Bore expect health. So, Mr. Speaker, truly, and I want to urge and ask our members, please, let's be bipartisan. Let's look at the good things. Let's look at the bad things. We do away with the bad thing, but we cannot in totality say this bill should be rejected in totality. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Jackson Kosgei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, and on the onset, I support the bill. It has been said by historians that there are two things, I beg your pardon, that has made regimes comes up or rise up and fall. One is the policy on fiscal planning of a nation, such as the one we are interrogating through this bill. Mr. Speaker, the second one is the national bride, where the citizens of a country is proud to support and sustain their own country. While I commend the committee for the work, the good job done, the resilience they had in taking the processes through legally and by law, and also by listening to the citizenry of this country, I wish to persuade us in this House to appreciate the fact that we have a cardinal role in developing the budget of this country by interrogating all the processes, and we have a duty to produce a policy that will support this nation. It appears that the debate today, and as we continue, is gravitating around the finance bill as was presented, and we seem to play down the proposed amendment by our esteemed committee members. They have given us their version after receiving the contribution by the public. Mr. Speaker, I wish to conclude my remarks as I support this bill by commenting on the light note on a comment that was made by one honorable member that it was a bit unnecessary and misleading comparison, because we are speaking not only to this August House, but we are speaking to Kenyans listening outside there, to compare the 19th century dictatorial monarchs with our vibrant democracy, which is giving us an opportunity of changing government whenever we want in every 5 years. It is unnecessary to speak to Kenyans that we have an alternative in terms like revolution, destroying a country. I think we have a room, vibrant democracy in the world, not Africa alone. And I wish to urge us that let us debate without personalizing, but think about this country and its progress. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support the bill. Thank you.
Mawathe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this bill. I stand on the onset to oppose this bill. This bill, actually the amendment that was tabled last evening, is actually worse than what was there previously. The original bill that was tabled aimed to raise 308 billion shillings. The new one that has been that was tabled last night targets to raise 386 billion shillings. I know a few sweet items were removed, like removing the taxes on bread. There were no taxes on bread. We have never had taxes on bread. So when you say you are removing taxes on bread, you are just withdrawing your amendment, or rather your proposed amendment to the bill. There is no favor that we are doing to Kenyans. This bill, as it was previously and it's amended as it is amended now, is very, very punitive to Mwananchi. The new bill introduces the new amendment that was tabled last evening, introduces a fuel levy of 9 shillings per litre. When you increase the cost of fuel, all the items that are transported using motor vehicles, rollies, etc., the cost will go up. So the cost of living to the common Mwananchi will go up. We have increased the taxes on the imported finished items. In most households, majority of the items, from the cookers to the TV and any other items, not necessarily electronics, including this room, majority of the items in this room, other than the wooden items, are all imported. So we will increase the cost of living for the common Mwananchi. I've had a few people congratulate the finance committee. I want to congratulate the Gen Z for coming out in large numbers and expressing themselves. What was sad is seeing that they were arrested. They have freedom to assemble. They have freedom of expression. They should be allowed to express themselves, not necessarily be arrested. But to the Gen Zs, the Gen X, and the Millennium, you are yet to register as voters. You need to register as voters so that you can have the correct people that will listen and side with Mwananchi. Anybody who does not side with Mwananchi, you know what to do come 2027. And for the Gen X who actually participated yesterday, and the Millenniums and the Gen Z, the work is not done. The most important work happens tomorrow. Tomorrow is when we are voting as a house. You must put pressure. Continue to put pressure. Do not let off the item on the gas. And you must sit there with a pen and a paper. And anybody who votes to put a noose around your neck, you must write down their name and pick and say, that one, 2027, home. That one, 2027, home. Anybody who votes to finish you here. Anybody who votes to put a noose on your neck tomorrow and finish the Kenyans, you must have a list and pick. That one, 2027, home. That one, because we must have a people. We must have a parliament that supports and stands with the common Mwananchi. And I stand to oppose. Asante.
Mary Wamaua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. for giving me a chance to speak to this finance bill. Mr. Speaker, I don't stand here to be told by an honorable member who is elected like me, because I listen to my people. Mr. Speaker, I'm here to support the finance bill with the proposed amendment from the committee finance. Mr. Speaker, secondly, allow me to appreciate the work that was done by the finance committee, the exercise that they did going around the country during the public participation was not in futility, and therefore, immediately after the public participation, they went to write this report, and from all what they collected from the people who came in the name of those from the corporate professionals, business men, and others, they were able to do so many amendments that we are waiting to hear, and some we are aware, because majority of those are the ones that the members of public had a lot of interest in, like the issue of the VAT on bread. There is that proposed amendment to remove the VAT on it. There is also the excise duty on the vegetable oil. That was also an area of concern. A lot of concern on the issue to do with the 2.5% on motor vehicle tax. Mr. Speaker, I may not be able to mention all the areas